This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, November 27th, 2018, episode 202. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Infection. Whoa, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, you can visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. Brian, this is our last show in our No Shave November challenge, I think it is. So, Brian, for the last time with a beard for the year, I introduced to you Brian with a beard Aldridge. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Brian with a beard Aldridge. Thank you. If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, my blog, biteoftech.com, and make sure you go to our website where we have links to our Twitch, our Twitter, our YouTube channel, and of course our Discord, which is a great place if you want to suggest news to us throughout the week. You want to hang out and play different video games that we're playing. We have ARC servers. Right now we have a 7 Days to Die server. Just whatever you're wanting to play, jump into there and see if you can get a group going. Also, we have on there a link to our Steam group, which gives notifications before the live show starts. So if you want to get a notification, it just pops up with your Steam client whenever we start the live show, and that way you can jump in and join us. And we have pretty much show notes for every single episode from episode 1 on, plus all our special episodes. So if you're ever wanting to know what we talked about maybe the previous couple of weeks, you can jump into our show notes. We have links for all the different topics that we just discussed on there. And of course, we have our famous 7 Days to Die countdown, which is still officially going. I would say
you and I are kind of at odds on that, but I'll give it to you.
It's up to them. It's up to, I mean, they could, we will discuss more. We can discuss more about 7 Days to Die here in a little bit.
I agree.
And then I think then people might understand a little more why it's kind of conflicted.
I agree totally. All right. Well, hopefully you, Brian, I hope everybody else had a great Thanksgiving. I want to give a special hello to a friend in chat whose name is based around our podcast that we have not seen in many years. Our friend Whitetail is joining us this evening. He was one of our H1Z1 players back in the old days, probably about 3.5 years ago. So thank you for joining us, Whitetail. And again, hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Black Friday, Brian. Let's talk about it. Did you get any deals? And it's, Black Friday is kind of like Wednesday to today. yeah, pretty much a week.
A week long.
So how'd you make out? Did you get anything good?
So yesterday I went to Costco and I got a 70-inch 4K HDR TV.
Ooh.
And put it up in my front living room. Hooked it up to, because of course I got the PS4 Pro, so I could do 4K. And hooked it up and got it up on the wall. And my wife says, "Man, that thing is huge."
I'm sure that's it. Yeah.
We won't go. We could do jokes with that. And so I mounted it up on the wall, and he was able to use the previous mount and everything, and it went up there pretty easily. The thing was, most difficult thing is you don't realize how big a 70-inch screen is when you're trying to lift it up above your head and put it up on a wall.
Luckily, they're much lighter now than they were like 7 years ago, because a 70-inch
TV, a 70-inch back then would have been a ton.
Yeah, literally, like it would have ripped the sheetrock. It would have ripped the studs out of your wall. Like those TVs are massive. What brand is it?
Vizio.
I love my Vizio TV.
Yeah. So we had gone a number of years ago. We got I think a 60-something inch TV that we had up there, and it was a Hisense. It wasn't really a brand.
Yeah. It's
a brand that people know, but
I think that's Walmart. I think that's Walmart's brand of TV.
Maybe is it? I don't know. I got it on Amazon.
Oh, okay. Then maybe it's not. Maybe it's Amazon's brand.
Yeah, I don't know. It was Hisense. So it was starting to once in a while just kind of the screen cut out for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so when Laura was playing Rocket League, that's a game where it really matters. Like if your screen cuts out for 2 seconds, like something happens, of course, in that 2 seconds every time. And she's like, we need what's wrong with our TV? And I was like, I have no idea, short of taking apart, looking at power supplies, whatever.
There's no point in doing.
Yeah. She was like, oh, we got to do this because, she very competitive when she
Isn't that,
plays Rocket
isn't
League.
that great? You can like, you don't have to pester your wife for a new TV. She's like, "Damn it, Brian, we need a new TV." You're like, "Oh darn!"
I was like, well, you know,
Oh,
hey, we
take
need
my
a
money.
4K. Yeah,
That's good.
so we got that hooked up PS4 Pro, and it's been running good. So I got that, and then I ordered, because they're doing them half price, the Fire TV 4K version.
Ah, okay.
The one that has Alexa and everything built into it. Then I got to figure out what I want to do.
Set off my device here. I got.
Did I?
Yeah, I've got this audio going through speakers as well. So yeah.
Should I ask her what the address is?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
You won't hear it. It's in the kitchen.
Okay.
Good. So you got a TV and a new flat screen and a Fire TV.
Yep.
I got a couple of things. I finally bit the bullet. We talked about this many times, Brian, but I finally got a Nintendo Switch. Finally
Nice.
pulled the trigger. Got a great deal on at GameStop on Thursday morning. It was at like 12:10 a.m. or something like that for $250 with a copy. No, $300 with a copy of Mario Kart and a $50 gift card. So like a $200 system.
So pretty much
good deal.
$250.
Yeah. So good deal on that. And Brian, I'm sorry. I lied to you. I lied to all of our audience. I lied to my friends, my family. I bought Fallout 76 as well, which I said I wasn't going to buy, and I really didn't have a reason to buy it. But GMG, Green Man Gaming, was running a deal. I got the game for like 33 and change, and I can't imagine that in the future the game will not be in a much better state, specifically with modding. Fallout games are similar to kind of GTA and Skyrim in the respect that half the fun is the game, half the fun is what the community, specifically on the PC, does with it after the fact. For people that aren't familiar, Fallout New Vegas has got a mod right now called Fallout New California, which is a totally independently developed, voice-acted full story built on top of Fallout New Vegas. I mean, it's like a 36-hour game built on top of New Vegas. I mean, it's nuts. So that's super cool. And
that's the thing, is I've been hearing, because I know some people that have been playing it.
Yep.
And every time I hear it's not as bad. Now, I think initially they put out a number of patches.
Yeah.
And we'll just be discussing a little bit of the future plans here during the show. But I think that it's not what people who don't track the news closely expected. But I think we expected it because we saw the news and we figured it out based on what they started releasing. So I think it is pretty much what was expected. And I think it is a little bit buggier than what you thought it would be. But I think they're trying to make it as playable and stable as possible. And they're getting there. I mean, I've heard from people that it's all the stuff that you saw in the initial beta period where all these crazy things were happening. I haven't heard about those things happening as much after the official release in the first patch.
Oh, and this is something I've said repeatedly, and it's kind of how I justified the game in my own head. At some point or another, I will get $30 worth of value, and because it's Bethesda and it's a AAA studio, they're not going to drop support. It's not like the game flopped and they're going to say, "Oh, we're done with Fallout 76, on to the next project." This game will be supported for years. There will be updates for years for the game. It's one of the very large studios behind this game. It is one of the most known gaming franchises out there.
They're not going to go out of business because this didn't sell as well as they're expecting.
So for $30, I know in the future I'll have a supported game. Now, is it the same as Fallout 3, which is what a lot of people benchmark Fallout on? Is it as good as Fallout 3? I don't know. We'll talk about it a little while. I don't know. Is it no, it's not, probably, because everybody loved Fallout 3. Fallout 3 was a revolutionary game when it came out. Everybody loved Fallout 3. So no, it's not Fallout 3. But I think over its lifespan, even if you paid $60 for it up front, I think you will probably, over its lifespan, get $60 out of it.
Well,
you might not right now,
part is
but you may.
People need to find a group of players that are playing the game and just go in and hang out and play with them, because that's where you're going to get your $30 to $60 out of enjoyment, is playing with people and creating those experiences.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's pause there real quick. Let's do the rest of let's get all this other stuff out of the way, and then we'll jump back into Fallout. So we did our first ever early game of the week thing. We started Friday at noon. We started playing 7 Days to Die, and we played for over 12 hours straight. I logged off probably about 12:30 or so Saturday morning, and we did that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And because everybody was having such a good time and everybody's still enjoying the game, we're actually going to do it again for a regularly scheduled game of the week this Friday. So if you weren't able to join us last Friday, have no fear. Join us this Friday and probably this weekend and throughout the week, for a matter of fact. I know a couple people were playing last night. I myself jumped in for a little while last night. So if you're looking for a group to play 7 Days to Die with, we've got a server. All the information is in our Discord. We're not playing it super crazy hardcore. Like, the base is just open in public. People can come and grab stuff and just take what they need. It's nothing crazy. So if you're looking for a group, you want to try Alpha 17 out, this Friday night's a great chance to do so. And we're getting to the point where we're having some fun toys to play with. The bicycles, the motorbikes, kind of the cool things.
And there are other vehicles beyond that we haven't unlocked yet. There's a helicopter that we haven't unlocked yet.
We may have to spawn that in. That would be cool. That might be a cool item to spawn.
I think we're getting close to it,
really?
Though. So
cool.
Yeah. So I think if we just keep playing a little bit more throughout the week, a day here and there, I think we'll be there pretty quickly, because we're getting to pretty high levels to where Saul is 50 something. I think 50 something. We just need to get a few more levels, put our points in the right places, and then we can create those.
Yep. So we'll be doing that Friday night. Hopefully you'll join us.
Saul's almost 70. So I'm in my 60s, I think, and then he's 70. So he should be able to make it pretty soon. Perfect.
Then we'll put all of our resources and work Friday night into doing that. Hopefully, I mean, we'll play around the helicopter, probably crash and kill ourselves, but it's fine. It's all for it's all.
So that'll officially be our Friday night game night.
Absolutely, yeah. We will definitely do 7 Days to Die. I think we've got enough people that are interested in it to do that.
And we've had a good time, and the thing we'll talk. I don't know if you're ready to talk about it now.
Well, I don't know. So we could talk about 7 Days, or we could talk about Fallout. You want to talk about 7 Days first?
Let's talk about 7 Days first, because then I have another piece of news for Fallout that we can.
Okay, so this is the long-awaited Alpha 17. We covered the patch notes last week, which I think were, if my memory serves me correctly, 22 pages printed out on my laser printer here. 22 pages worth of patch notes. And this long-awaited, it's been 500 plus days since they'd had a significant version, an actual version release from 16 to 17, and there was a lot of hype around it. There was a lot of questions about it, and I'll throw the ball in your court, Brian. What is your reaction now that we probably logged close to 25 hours over the holiday weekend playing? I mean, even your wife played almost all day on Friday. I mean, she probably logged 9 or 10 hours.
Yeah, she made it to day 7 at least, which is
7 hours.
7 hours,
yeah.
And then she went
more than 7 hours because we had a little snafu at the beginning. So she probably played 9 hours.
So I played 30.3 hours in the past 2 weeks.
That's bad. That's really bad. Let me see how much I've played. I played. How do you see how much you've played in the past week?
Just go to the Steam page for it for 7 Days to Die, and it should say next to your Play Now button.
Gotcha. Let me find the store page here. It is not showing me. Interesting.
Are you logged in? I wonder.
Yeah. I got the Steam client open and all. Weird.
That's weird. Yeah, it shows it for me. It shows hours on record and then hours in the last 2 weeks.
Mine only shows my hours on record. Let me try this. I have got. Here we go. How many did you have?
30.3.
Okay, I've got 22.7.
Well, yeah, and I was playing some more over the weekend.
And you left your game client open a couple times.
Oh, maybe I did.
You did, because I saw you. Yeah, I saw you were the only one playing, but you were off. You were
Yeah.
away on Steam, and I was like, typical Brian, trying
Yeah,
to
yeah.
rack up
So you're
the
right.
hours to justify his high payment for games. Just like, oh Lord, I play this game
So,
all the time. I've got 100 hours. I've never touched it.
so that is, yeah. So that is okay. That's right. Because I do remember, like I had left it. I had hit log out, but it didn't close the game client.
We
So
played a
that so
lot.
I have about the same hours as you.
We've
probably
got close to. We've got over 20 hours invested.
just in this past 2 weeks.
Okay, so balls in your court, Brian. Give us your reaction on Alpha 17.
So the alpha is a lot more stable than I thought it would be. They're definitely, because we were concerned that with all the it's not ready, we're just doing this as experimental, that we were going to run into a bunch of really bad bugs. And I think that this for the most part was stable. We did run into some issues with the Horde Knights. The server was throwing an error. I got it to where I could see the error happening on the server. So there is some bug on the Horde Knights of making it so the hordes aren't able to move anymore. They pretty much on your screen they visually stop, but I think they're still doing damage to your base. So we would just restart the server really quick and then continue on. Um, I think that the progression system and the way that they're working with the quests and I think that they did a good job with all of that. It feels like it was very natural, but it didn't let you use too many glitches to be able to level up really fast. We did find one big bug that definitely did that, but that was not an intentional one, right?
Yep.
But other than that, before you could make a bunch of axes and you could do certain things to really affect how you leveled up. And now they seem to have made it more measured as far as you can only make this level of a weapon. You can only do this at this point in time to force you to take the right timing and do everything in order.
The game is significantly harder. Alpha 16 or 17 compared to 16 is significantly harder. One of the reasons Brian just described, which I'm glad they did. This is not a complaint. They got rid of. Thank you, Barbie, for the subscription. We appreciate that. 10 months in a row. Thank you very much, Barbie, who also had a great time playing with us on all weekend. She played. She actually thought that we weren't playing the time we said we were playing. We're like, we're going to start at noon. And she's like, no, you guys aren't actually going to start at noon, and popped in at like 6 o'clock. I was like, oh my God, you guys have been playing for 6 hours. I'm like, yeah, that's what we said. By the way, 8 o'clock this week, right back to our regular schedule now.
Yes.
Significantly harder. What you're describing is what we used to call the way that you used to level up weapons and whatnot were by making them over and over again. So you would do hatchet or axe. I think it's called an axe. You do axe crafting where you would just craft 100 axes and go AFK. You would go make dinner and come back and you'd be fine. And it'd gain you a whole bunch of XP. It'd make your weapons stronger. And that was just the way that you played the game. And frankly, that's kind of BS. I mean, that's not fun. Saul and I were talking about this, who's kind of like our resident 7 days expert. That just wasn't fun. I mean, was it effective? Yes. But was it fun? No. It was stupid. It made no sense. Now, crafting weapons doesn't do anything for your XP. It doesn't do anything for the weapon level. It gives you no benefit.
So now you actually repair it makes sense just to repair your weapon again.
Correct.
Before you were making them every single time. You're like, oh, it'd give me this amount of XP every time and would increase this. Now your level of your weapon is determined by the points that you spend, like in intellect and things like that.
Skill tree, yeah.
You spend the points in your skill tree, and now I can make, I think, a level 4, maybe 5 axe or something. I can make a level 4. They go up. They don't have it to where now it's 5 levels, pretty much 5 quality levels. And so if you can get level 5, that's the top quality level. And so that's a big difference from before. Is now you can't make a high-end axe until you've actually leveled it up a decent amount, and then you put the points in the right places. Then you can make that level of an axe. And it also, one thing is, it does as we've gotten to like day 28 and beyond, like the world is definitely getting harder. You go into a town to loot, and like there's spitters all over the place, and just all kinds of higher level zombies. that you can come across.
In Alpha 16, you could go through a town like a horde of locusts. You would just rummage the town. There'd be nothing left. And you could do that in like an hour or 2 hour period.
You could clear every building.
Yeah, it was, depending on the size of the city, you could clear a building pretty quickly. Now, you can't, there's not a house you can go into where you are not dealing with, I want to say at least maybe half a dozen zombies. Maybe that's a little much. Maybe 4 zombies.
At least the bigger houses that have, and now they've done a really good job. So here's one big difference. If you go in there and play, is they now have hidden loot in like in one house. There will be all these locations where loot is stashed.
Yeah, behind doors.
And so you'll notice a floorboard that's kind of looks off, like it looks, you can kind of see under the edge of it. Maybe something on the wall, some wallpapers kind of torn back a little bit. You hammer that away, and then behind that will be like a coin stash or a bag or something is behind there. And so they've made it to where you actually want to go into these bigger houses and search, because there's probably some good stuff in there, where before you might have come across just a bunch of random junk that you're collecting to mass produce something else. But in exchange, you go into those places and they are much harder zombies. And there's also quests in there now as well, which resets. So you go in and do the quest, or you start the quest, and it, no matter what you've done to that house before, it resets it, and you are pretty much starting it. It's like in a mini dungeon.
Yeah.
For each quest.
They have done a lot to the game. The quest system, which when we were reading it on the show notes last week, seemed kind of minuscule from reading it. It was like, this is like a thing that's in the game. Now, to be fair, we are right next to the trader. Not by design, but just by the fact that we found a building that was suitable next to the trader. So maybe that has got something to do with how often we do quests. Because, when I say it's next door, it's literally like 100 yards from our base.
We can shoot it with an arrow.
We can shoot it with an arrow, yeah. It's very close. And there are other ones throughout the map. It's not like there's only one. There's one that's not far. It's probably a 3-minute run from our base. But they changed the game significantly. I think I mentioned this. I don't know if it's good or bad yet. But previously in 7 Days to Die, everything you did was kind of as a group. There wasn't really a whole lot to do alone. You could just go and run through a city by yourself, but it was kind of lame. Like, oh, okay, great. You're just gonna run through a city. You'll be so encumbered probably by the first 2 or 3 buildings that you won't be able to do anything anyway. So you kind of just did everything as a group. But now with these quest systems, people are just kind of going out and doing their own thing, and it's just throughout the week and just throughout, like, while you're playing. You'll be doing a group activity, and then there will be a couple of people that are just out doing their own thing. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it has made our progression as a clan a little bit slower, because we're not always just focused on base building all the time. There's a lot of people are doing quests, myself, you included. Everybody's doing quests because it's a good way to get XP. So it's almost as if they've slowed down the game a little bit by adding this kind of metagame quest system, which, by the way, you can share quests and do them with your friends, which is super cool, and get shared XP and get shared loot. It's very, very cool. So I don't know. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. It's just an observation of how it has definitely changed. Like, previously, we would have already been in probably our final base. We're in the mid-30s now for our days, I think. We'd already be settled in. We're still at our second base location, and the base really isn't ideal. But nobody's really worrying about it because we're all doing all of our little quests, and kind of just doing
everything is more difficult. Like, before the 7th day, I've been just going out and laying down tons of spikes, because since people aren't really focusing on the base as much, they're not upgrading all the walls to metal, and they're not doing all the things that they normally would have done. And so to counter that, I'm like, all right, I'm making 100 and something metal spikes, not metal spikes, but wood spikes. And then we lay them out 5 to 6 layers deep all the way out from the base. And then I see from that 7 days, the 7th day horde, what areas did they get through? What are and then we've been starting to put metal for the spikes where they go through, a layer of metal just to slow them down. But that's only going to last for so long.
Did you play yesterday?
Yeah, so I think we did the 28th day.
We've got
Yesterday.
we've got a massive pit now. We've got like a moat surrounding our base. We dug the auger
Oh,
all the way
okay.
down to cement. So we're filling that with spikes because I don't know if it was I don't remember what 7-day it was.
I think Saturday, maybe it was Sunday or Saturday. We did the 28th day. I think it was Sunday.
It maybe
you guys did it yesterday, Monday.
Yeah. So I think it was I don't know if it was the 21st or the 28th day that I think it was the 28th yesterday that they literally the zombies destroyed one whole side of our base. Like the side of the fire station that we're in, they literally cleaned that whole like west-facing wall, like shaved it away. Like it literally doesn't exist anymore. It's crazy.
Nice.
The zombies are crazy hardcore. So that's kind of our new strategy. But the game is significantly harder. It is no longer a work really quick to get the forge, the cement mixer, and the chemistry bench or whatever, and then kind of just hunker yourself down and just kind of be like a hermit. It's no longer that. We're 30 days into the campaign now, or 30 days into the server time. Those days are converted to hours. And we're just scratching the surface. There's still so much to do because they've done a couple things to slow down progression. The XP thing, and I really do think the quests, taking people's focus away from the base onto other things, slow down how you progress as a group, which is good in that respect, because by day 30 last time we were probably like, this is boring. We've all got these crazy
we discovered
guns.
the whole map at that point.
Yes, we haven't even touched
every inch of the map was uncovered, and we just ran out of things. Now here, day 30 is when the map starts to reject, like the loot respawns, and so all the stuff that we originally looted. One thing I'm curious of, does that mean, are they going to have enhanced loot on the 30th day? Is it going to be better loot? I mean, that would make sense. Now that you're going to be a higher level, is there harder and better loot spread throughout those areas that we looted when we first came in on the day one? That'd be a nice thing to go see. And as we play, like that loot will be respawning at the same rate that we played on that first couple days.
I feel like I feel like when people say these things a lot and they get drawn at, the words get like the word love, Brian, no longer really has a meaning. You say I say I love everything. It's just the word no longer means anything. But I can genuinely say that I had one of probably my top 1% gaming experiences playing this game on Thursday. We had, or Friday rather, we had an incredible amount of fun playing. It's brought me back to the old H1Z1 days when we were just as a group having, Brian, I don't play games for 12 hours. I'm lucky if I play 45 minutes of that going crazy. We played for 12 hours straight on Friday. And the only reason I had to stop is because I literally couldn't stare at the screen anymore. I was exhausted. By the way, that whole VOD is up on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/360 Gaming Live. You can check out the VOD. There's a couple clips in there too of some funny encounters. Me falling off the building and dying. Brian getting a crawler zombie zooming up a ladder and killing Brian as I stand in his way. Lots of fun things happened.
Yeah,
but I had a really good experience. It was top 1% gaming experiences that we've had, or that I've had in general. I don't know if you share that in terms of how good the experience was, but boy, it was a lot of fun. I was pissed off that I had to go back to work on Monday because I would have loved to have played another 2 days in the game.
Well, that's the thing, is this is one of those games that after we quit playing that night, I was like, man, I want to keep playing. Like we had played for 12 hours. And I was like, we got up in the morning and we instantly started playing again.
Yep. Yeah. I think I woke up at like 10:30. I hopped right back on and played probably another, I don't know.
We played all day.
Another probably 8 hours or so. And then I played some Dead by Daylight. I mean, yeah, I was on the computer. I realized I didn't leave my house Thursday, Friday. No, I didn't leave my house Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I didn't leave my house. All we did was play 7 Days to Die.
Yep.
So, I would say if you haven't had the opportunity, go in and play it. They scare you by saying it's on the experimental branch. My game didn't crash at all. The server itself didn't crash. You mentioned the bug with the 7 days, the 7-day bug. The server didn't crash. My game didn't crash. I don't think anybody's game crashed. We were all trying to join at the same time, which screwed up the server big time. No, everybody's getting timeout errors and whatnot. But once we all got in, we were good. I don't know of any
connecting.
I mean, there isn't any crazy bugs. There's trees that have not despawned. So that's a bug.
Here's the known issues. I'm going to run through the known issues.
Yeah, for sure.
Current version. So the auger and chainsaw sound loop in multiplayer games.
That's a fact. I heard Green Man last night, but I couldn't hear him in Discord. The sound on him was so loud. It was like a snowblower in your ear. It was so freaking loud.
Nice. Trader Jen has a deep voice, which Trader Jen, I didn't go and look at her, but I keep hearing that she's pretty much Trader Joe wearing a dress.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Okay. Players visually disappear from one another when looking up. So if you look up, like other players disappear. I didn't notice that, but other people were saying that was happening. No lights on vehicles. Turrets target zombies through walls. Guns with a magazine size of 1 still auto reload. Some mods are still testing phase only and do not work yet. Stealth has some issues that may not get fixed till next patch, which we mentioned that last week. Table saw is not taught by perk, which I found it Solid pointed out a edit that I could do to a config file, and I was actually added that back in. They just didn't add it in the config file.
Cool.
Gas stations may not have rally markers, making them invalid for group quests. Clients may see trees without a hitbox, which we did run into a few here and there.
Yep.
Server connection issues, which is probably that initial set that we were talking about. Floating POIs, I did find one of those.
Oh, okay.
Where it was like a whole factory, but the back of it was, off the ground where you could walk underneath it. It says known issues, you will die. I don't know that maybe that's a joke.
I think that's a little joke. And you do die. You will die. That's an absolute fact. Yeah. This game is hard as hell.
Yep. Radiated vulture puke will cause exception spam. I wonder if maybe something like that was what was causing us to crash on the it could be something like that.
Yeah, if we were getting a whole bunch of server exceptions, that definitely crashed.
I just know a certain error flying by. Repair material not refunded when repair was canceled.
Ooh.
That's a good thing to keep in mind is if you just change your mind on a repair, do not cancel it, just let it happen. So you're going to pay either way. Ammo wrongfully not returned when a weapon is modified more than once. Wrong ammo count being saved on weapon when placed in a container and retrieved. I don't know if that could possibly result in a dupe bug, maybe, depending if it's positive or negative. Punching after placing the last block on a slot, which you've got to be careful because if you put a bed in your slot and or a sleeping bag, you go to place it, you'll punch it. What was the block there's a block that you can't pick up again. The regular frame block.
Oh, the A-frame.
If it's damaged, you can't pick it up. But there was one that we placed. Oh, it was that plant.
Oh, my potted plant. Yes, the potted plant. You got to destroy.
The thing is, if you put it in the slot, you place it, you immediately punch it after you place it, and now you can't pick it up.
Saul
and move it
literally
anymore.
destroyed my potted plant to put his stupid forge down. And it's luckily, I think it was Joe or Jonesy brought me another one. I appreciate it very much.
I brought 2 plants back to the
excellent.
base.
Now we've got fridges, we've got cold beer signs, we got gun lock, and we're good to go.
So I mean, that's one thing to keep in mind. I assume they'll put out a patch fairly soon.
You know what's interesting, Brian? We've literally read through thousands of patch notes with bugs. All of these known issues we are experiencing.
Yeah.
Normally, these bugs.
I can't think of any. I can't think of any that. I mean, I can't think of ones that we experienced that aren't in here.
And I say that
unless you could say there's the infinite tree, but I don't know if that was because of a crash of us restarting the server and that.
Well, I think that's probably something to do with the tree hitboxes because you're not really hitting the tree.
Yeah. Well, no, that's a little bit different.
Yeah,
because you are hitting the tree. The thing with the one where the tree is sitting at 0 health, but it doesn't disappear.
I'm sure
afterwards.
those are related because all those trees are in the same batch of trees that you can't deal with. So I only say this to say if everybody's experiencing these same bugs, it's like they're easier to fix. When you're dealing with, and we know this from H1Z1, the shotgun, the inconsistencies on the shotgun, they couldn't nail it down because it was so sporadic and it was so, they just couldn't figure it out. And I mean,
The bug wasn't even consistent.
and that's the problem when you're dealing with those inconsistencies. Literally these known issues, I think, besides like the turret and the gun magazine, we literally have experienced every single one of those, which means they're rampant bugs, meaning they're easy fixes because they're very easy to replicate. So that's a good sign. And none of these are game breaking. I mean, the auger sound is annoying. That's an actual issue because you literally cannot hear. It is so loud. But everything else is pretty. I mean, everything else isn't crazy. The punching thing's kind of a pain in the ass. But that's
and there's not much you can do about it other than trying to look up really quickly.
Yeah. So this is it. Those are the known issues. None of it is game breaking. We had a really, really good time on 7 Days to Die. We had, I don't know how many we had at max, but we had 10 or so people playing at max.
10 to 12 people, 10 to 12 I think people. It was.
That's I think I said to you privately, this is the best interaction from our group that we've had in a very long time. I mean, just everybody's doing something, not just hanging out, but like everybody was doing something actively too. The whole time for like 12 hours. Yeah. For all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that's 7 Days to Die. Hopefully you have gotten the opportunity to check it out. If not, please, please, please join us Friday night. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. We'll get you caught up to speed with our bait. Or, hey, if you want to come on and play and do your own thing on our server, that's more than okay as well. Just come in Discord, get the server information, and we don't PvP really because we're all playing together. So just if you want to just come out and check out the patch and screw around, you can do that too. There's no it's not like a hardcore server or anything like that.
Yep. All right. So do you want to talk about some Fallout 76?
Yes. Do I have a Fallout 76? I don't have a Fallout 76 little thing on the screen. I guess we'll have to just go past that. Yeah, I bought Fallout 76. Said I wasn't going to, but it was on such a good deal that I did anyway. And let me say here, I haven't played it a lot. I played about 4 hours last night. So this is just my letting you know beforehand. So my opinion, like I could say something this week and say something totally opposite next week. I'm going to try to play some more. So I've played about 4 hours. I played 2 of the first hours were solo. The second 2 were online. I played with Jonesy for a little while, and we were chatting on Discord. And I've just got to say off the bat, the hysteria, it's hysteria. The game really isn't that bad. Now, I will say, I'm 4 hours into it, and once I hit 30 hours of there being no world content, because that's everybody's big concern is there's no NPCs. There's no world content. That would be like Red Dead Redemption 2 without the random NPCs. It was just quest to quest to quest, which is essentially what 76 is, because there's nothing to interact with in the world. There's no NPCs. So that's the big concern. And the idea is that after 30 hours or 40 hours of doing the quests and doing that stuff, you're going to say, well, what the hell else do I do now? Which is a valid concern. But I'm not there yet. And I'm of the firm opinion, and I'm not saying this as a Fallout 76 apologist, but if I can get 35 hours out of this game, I paid $33 for $34 for, I'll be pretty content. I've spent a lot more, like freaking Call of Duty, the most recent Call of Duty. I spent a lot more on that and have definitely not gotten 40 hours. We probably got 40 hours out of World War II. We played that a lot. But I have spent 60. No Man's Sky, I've played like 8 hours. I have spent $60 on so many titles that I haven't really been able to play. So I'll just say, if I can get 30 hours, 35 hours out of the game of enjoyable gameplay, I'm content with that. I'm not saying that's great. I'm not saying that's good, but Brian, I'm of the opinion now playing it that it's hysteria. It is hysteria. I've talked to my cousins last night. I want to see if I can pull up some of the texts because we were talking about it. I said I played 4 hours tonight and really enjoyed it. My cousin brought up the point of, once you hit the repetition limit, it's going to be boring because the world is kind of lifeless. And then I went on to say, if I paid $30 for the game and get 30 hours, I'll be good. So we were having a little back and forth about that. I don't understand I understand why people are pissed off because it's not a traditional Fallout game, but it's not unplayable. It's not terrible. It's not even bad. It's just different. The co-op thing was kind of cool. I enjoyed running around the world with Jonesy. Now, there were a couple of points where, and it's nothing against him, but there were a couple of points where he was a little bit higher level than I, and he was kind of whooping the creatures' asses before I could, and I was kind of like, this would be a little bit better if I was running alone, right? A little more of a challenge. So there was that respect. There was that aspect of it, which is the big issue that pisses people off. But realistically, it just wasn't. I was expecting a total dumpster fire, and it really wasn't. Again, I've only played 4 hours. I could come on here next week and say the game is total garbage. I don't want to look like an idiot, but I've played 4 hours right now, and those first 4 hours for $34 were not bad. I'm pretty content with where I am right now.
So my concern would be, as you said, once you kind of hit that content cap of, all right, I've discovered the world, I've run around, explored a lot of areas, seen all the creatures, kind of done the general things that you would do in the game. Then you might hit what we kind of ran into with the original Conan release.
Yeah.
What do I do now? I think at that point you'll say, all right, this is different than other Fallouts, especially the ones where they let you put mods and just explore and try to find any other thing to do. I mean, I think the question will be, do you hit a point where, all right, there's nothing really left for me to do in the world since PvP isn't really prevalent? I mean, I get my nephew told me that you could PvP.
You can PvP. You have to turn it off. You're on passive mode by default. We tried killing each other, and when we both hit each other, it said disable passive mode to PvP.
So do you think you'll get a community of players that kind of have an agreement that PvP is on? Like, how do the servers work? Here's one thing I don't understand.
I don't know. You click play, and you are in a game, and there are other people in it.
So there's no rhyme reason to
no.
people?
Todd Howard, no, well, you can. Todd Howard was right when he said, there is not a server browser. You will not know what server you're connecting to. You literally launch the game, click spacebar to get past the splash screen, click play, and then you are in your world. There's no saving. Last night I was like, Jonesy, how do I save the game? He's like, you don't. He's like, it's multiplayer. It just saves. It saves by itself. And it does. There's no server browser. There's no service selection. There is a play button, and that does everything. There's no way to delete saves. I don't know how you do any of that stuff. You literally just click play.
So that's kind of my concern with the PvP aspect of part of the draw of something like Rust is the fact that with Rust, you can go and you can get a rivalry going. I mean, this is, I guess, also some of the enjoyment of what became Just Survive and what we call H1Z1 was the rivalries that we were able to build up on the server itself. Like, okay, this area is where these people hang out, and they'll shoot you if you go into this town, and they come across you, and you kind of built up all right, we're cool with these guys, we're not cool with these guys, and that was a lot of the fun of it. And it feels like they've taken that away. Like, you won't have that benefit of PvP. It's more of, I'm just randomly going to run across people that aren't in my group, and I don't know if they're going to be friendly or not friendly. It's just a fresh interaction every time because there's not much of a chance that you're going to keep running into the same people.
Yes, that is the case. Now, you just join your friends by clicking on them and joining their game.
Yeah.
Oh, and God is saying I think you're in a protected level till 5. Okay, that may be the case. I think I'm just level 5 or 6. So maybe that's incorrect information. All I know is that we couldn't kill each other. He was definitely level 5, and we couldn't kill each other. and actually I think there was some PvP because there was a guy on our server that had a bounty on him, and you could see his little red marker. Everybody else's is like white. His marker was red, and he had a bounty on him. So I think he had to have been PvPing. But yeah, you are correct. There is no server browser. There's no way to be like, I want to play with these sets of people. Now, you can be friends with people on BethesdaNet and join their games.
Yeah.
But I don't think you always are in the game with the same people. I don't think.
Yeah, and one thing you had mentioned as well when you were playing, because you had gone and you had looked at, I think it was Jonesy's base, and you had asked him, well, what if someone else has a base in this exact same location?
Yeah.
How does that work? Let's say you and I have separate bases, and we are friends, but we have separate bases that are in the same place for us individually. If we join each other's games, how does it track that? Since there's no server browser,
I'm actually going to try that when we play next.
you guys should play something separately.
Yeah, I know where his base is now, so I can pay to move my base. I'm going to try to move it right next to his, and then see what happens. It'll probably break both of our bases, and we'll lose all of our stuff.
But that's something I'm really curious about, because these are things they should have tested.
Dude, I just don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, how would they deal with that?
I don't even know how you would be. How would you? I don't even know how you'd begin to deal with it.
Yeah, and so I think with this weird system that they've created a very large possible loophole. Not a loophole that you can take advantage of, I wouldn't think. But it could cause problems or cause an error saying, you can't, or having maybe your stuff not show up in that instance. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Now loot is instanced. So when you open container loot is instanced, is what I'm trying to say. Loot that's sitting out on shelves and whatnot is world loot. But when you open up a container or a bag, it is instanced loot, meaning it is separate.
Now, if he goes up to the exact same one, he'll get something different?
Totally different.
Totally different.
We tried that.
You're both getting the same thing.
Correct. Totally different, totally instanced. Now, Nuka-Cola sitting on a shelf, though, is a world object that anybody can pick up. So, like, he got a Nuka-Cola Quantum. We both saw it. He picked it up. It disappeared on my screen. So things that are sitting in the world, physically sitting in the world, are lootable by anybody. But bags, chests, crates, whatever, are individual instanced loot.
Okay.
But I have so many questions, and that's kind of why I wish I had some more time to play it. We were playing 7 days, and I just frankly did not have time to really jump into it. So I played about 2 hours with him. We tested a couple of things out, and I definitely want to check out that base thing. That is probably the most interesting thing, is what if two people have bases in the same location? I mean, the world is pretty big.
That's one thing I didn't understand. Like, even before all this, when they started explaiing it, that's what I was wondering. Is like, well, how are they going to deal with all these multiple players?
Maybe it won't let you join. Maybe it literally will not put two people with the same bases in the servers.
That's something like there's a conflict.
Yeah, that's a way to do it. It would be stupid, but that's probably the only way that's the only way
I don't know how they wouldn't. I mean, I don't know how else they would. I mean, there's no clean solution to that.
No, there's not. Yeah, now
you can see other people's bases, like not in your group.
I didn't run across. They don't pop up on the map, I don't think. And I don't know if you. Now I see what you're saying. You're saying maybe the bases themselves could be instanced if they're right next to each other.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe you guys joining a group together would create the conflict, but someone else could have a base in the exact same location.
No, because
you wouldn't see it.
No, but you'd see them in the world. That wouldn't. Now there's no way.
You would see them running around and doing things.
Yeah,
but that'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, that would be really weird. That wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, I can't think of a good clean way that they'll solve this.
Yeah, neither do I. And I'm curious to give that a try, and hopefully I'll have a chance to do. Hopefully we'll be able to do that this week.
Yeah.
So overall, I know you've got some news, but just before we get into that, overall, I think the internet has hyped themselves up on the game being terrible when in reality, because you even mentioned at the beginning of the show, the couple of people that you've talked to that have played it have said it really isn't that bad.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my thoughts right now. So
It may not be up to a AAA level of what you would
I don't
think.
know if it's not even up to AAA. It's just not Fallout 3.
Yeah, or 4.
Or 4. And Fallout 4 is very controversial. People don't remember this. People esteem Fallout 4 as a great game now. The Fallout community was fucking pissed that they included base building. They were pissed that there was base building in Fallout 4. This stupid modular base building system, they were pissed before that game came out.
Yeah, because it was a change.
I remember, and you remember, they were livid that they were going to put something like that in the game. Now you look back on it, and everybody loves Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is a great game. But before it came out, people were like, this is ridiculous, but this is ruining the franchise. This is the worst thing ever. I mean, it's stupid. I mean, now everybody
look what they were able to do with modding and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they were able to take the code that they had put in there, had opened up a lot of doors for the modding community. And I saw people making computers and doing all kinds of crazy stuff inside of the game. And they ended up liking it in the end. Now, I think that system was very strong. I'd be curious to see how much of that they carried over into this Fallout. Because you could do a lot with the old base building system. And I wonder if there's more limitations, being that it's online and all this. I wonder if it's to the same level. You'll have to see as you start to build a bigger and bigger base.
Yeah, Jonesy had a finished base, like it was all enclosed, and it worked out pretty well. So I really do think we are in a situation of it's not he said, she said. It's, I don't know what you'd call it. It's hysteria based off of thoughts. I don't know how you describe it. It looks like we lost Brian there. Hopefully we can get him back. But there really does appear to be some sort of just hysteria when it comes to this game. It's just I think it's hysteria. So,
well, let's talk about, because here's a post that they put out discussing some of these things. So they said, we know you're frustrated and angry at the state of the things right now, whether it's the issues you're running into in the game or the lack of communication about fixes, updates, and news. To be clear, the account that's posting this is on Reddit. Bethesda Game Studio is run by the Bethesda Game Studio community team. So they posted to let you know that they're still gathering feedback and want to get information for them to share. They didn't want you to think that the silence meant nothing was happening. So we're sorry and understanding this was not the right approach, and we'll work to make a better bridge between you and the dev team in the future. So we're posting an article today that has further information about the upcoming updates that were mentioned a few weeks ago. In addition, they have some patch notes in here as well. And so one thing that they're doing on December 4th, they're going to be putting out a patch, and they're going to be increasing the stash limit. I guess people were frustrated about that.
Yeah, it's 250.
It was 400.
Oh, 400.
But, yeah, 400, and they're increasing it to 600. While they said that this is conservative, they plan on increasing it even further once they verify this change does not affect the stability of the game. One thing you do have to keep in mind is this is online. Just ask the Miscreated team, having a lot of objects, when you're having to network them all, either you're making sacrifices and not doing the checks you're supposed to do, or you're making sure that it's optimal server performance. And this is their first game like this. So there's probably a lot of things they're trying to fix now that they're seeing how things are actually running. Boss loot. Players should correctly receive 2 or 3 items after taking down a boss, depending on the difficulty level of the boss. Cryolator effects. Players hit with the cryolator are now chilled, frosted, or frozen, depending on how many times they are hit. The duration of movement speed reductions applied to these effects have also been decreased from 2 hours to 30 seconds. So I guess if you got hit by that weapon, you'd be slowed or frozen for 2 hours.
Wow.
And now it's 30 seconds. So there's definitely something that wasn't happening as intended there. Respawning when over encumbered. We've resolved an issue affecting players who die while over encumbered that only allowed them to respawn at Vault 76.
Ooh.
Now over encumbered players will be able to respawn at the nearest discovered map marker. And And then stuck in power armor. We've addressed an issue in this patch that could cause players to become stuck inside of power armor. We're aware that there are some additional cases where this can occur, and we're actively investigating them. So that's the December 4th patch that they'll be doing. And then they have one for December 11th that they're going to be doing. And this one they're doing, this is on the PC, they're adding a push to talk button for voice chat. They're adding 21:9 resolution support and a field of view settings that you can put in there to adjust your field of view. The special respec. So after level 50, you'll be able to choose between a new perk card or moving a special point you had previously allocated. Camp placement on login. Your camp will no longer be automatically blueprinted and stored if someone. Oh, here we go.
Oh, but
here's the answer.
Read your Brian. The question answers are right in front of you.
Yes. This is one they added the second one earlier. So, so camp placement and login. Your camp will no longer be automatically blueprinted and stored if someone is occupying your location when you log in a server. Instead, you'll receive a notification that your space is occupied. If you decide to find a new home for your camp on that server, you will be free to do so. However, if you don't attempt to place your camp, you will be able to switch to a new server where that spot is vacant and your camp will be fully assembled and waiting for you.
Huh.
So that is
so
right,
so
the
that's
answer.
What it is. Yeah.
That's what because that's the thing we were like, what are they going to do about this? That I'm curious what it's doing right now.
Yeah. So like here, I had to take a screenshot of the Twitch video because of course you pause the Twitch video, it turns the screen black. So, down in the sorry for the audio listener. Sorry, Musty. I know he's listening to this on his way to work. But if you look down here, you can see this is where my base is, and that's where him and I are. And then a little bit further to the north, there's his base. So that's the indicators on the map. This guy right here is another player that we weren't sure who that was. It was some other guy just walking around. So that's how it indicates, and that's kind of the system right now. I don't see everybody else's bases on the map. I just see my friends who I'm in the game with. Okay. And all these other little things are server events or quests or checkpoints or other players, things that are going on throughout the world.
Okay. Now, this is just remember this is a patch that's coming out on December 11th. So we have about 2 weeks.
Why so late?
I don't. Obviously, they probably go on a very strict schedule. I mean, you got to think these guys aren't used to doing live games.
Yeah.
So they're in the old method of, all right, we do a patch.
I don't know why we're losing. I don't know if it's my internet here or what's going on here, but what Brian is going to say is that in the old state of the game, or when you're building an offline game, you just come up with a date and say, by this date we are going to do whatever. We're going to push the update live after that certain point. Now, in a live game, if you've got a game-breaking bug and you've got your deadline set 3 weeks out, it's a little bit tougher to say, hold on, we're not going to do an update for 3 weeks while, for example, push to talk. When I first joined the game, there was some other guy talking. He must have been doing a YouTube or a Twitch stream because he was talking, like he was narrating his own game. He's like, we're doing this, that, and the other thing now. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And I had to go into the settings and turn voice activity to none. So that's how I had to get around that. But that should be patched today. There's no reason.
For this game, they need to have a priority list. They need to be doing hot fixes because they're not used to hot fixes. I mean, the hot fix is not something they've really ever had to do with Fallout games. They've tested it enough to where the big game-breaking bugs on a static game, that's running on your computer, they would have fixed in the beta process. Here, people come up with, silly things like this. The push to talk button. That's an oversight. They should have seen this in testing.
Yeah.
But this would be a hot fix. I mean, obviously they don't need 2 weeks from now to code that in. They need to put, here's stuff that can wait 2 weeks. Here's things that need to be done in the next 3 days. And it's just, but there's so much. I mean, it's an old studio. Like they're probably very stuck in ways of making these games.
And JD brings up a good point, which I think is a lot of the outrage from a lot of people. Is he says push to talk was asked for in the beta. They did a beta, saw the issues, and then didn't do anything.
Anyways,
and then they released the whole game. I mean, the beta was a week before a week and a half of 2 weeks before the release. I mean,
what they probably did is they probably built their list and then they assigned it, and and they probably coded it over the last week and a half,
maybe.
And now it's in tests for 2 weeks.
No.
Right?
I'm saying when the game was in beta, there was issues.
Yeah,
that
but
came
how long
up
ago was that?
Beta was let's just call it 2 weeks ago. Well,
I'm
I'm sorry.
probably
The game has been out for 2 weeks, so 4 weeks ago, when the beta was out. And they knew issues. Push to talk not being in there is an issue. A field of view slider is an issue. And it does not appear to me, and they did, but it doesn't appear to me that they took any of those the only reason you do a beta is to figure things out and to let it out in the public and say, hey, try my game. If there's an issue, we'll fix it. It doesn't appear to me that they fixed a couple of the big issues, like not having push to talk in your game. I mean, this is like the same, not having a freaking windowed borderless option in your game. If you're a developer and you don't put a windowed borderless option in your game, you are a jackass. And you are a total jackass. Put an option in. Stop making me edit an INI file to change the damn resolution of the game. I mean, it's ridiculous.
These are developers that they don't understand the gaming community, first of all, it seems like, because if you look at Overkill's The Walking Dead, they did the exact same thing with push to talk.
Yeah.
They said, oh, we want it to feel realistic. So we want to have it to where your mic's always open so that you have real reactions and things that are happening. Okay, they didn't actually think ahead and say, okay, well, what about these Twitch streamers that are constantly talking to their audience constantly? Now, is that a realistic experience for the other players when they're sitting here and you've got this guy thanking for donations throughout the whole...
Thanks.
Yeah.
Big man 42 for the donation. Oh. Yeah.
I mean, is that helping my immersion to put me in that experience when I hear that in my headphones the whole game nonstop? I mean, they have this mindset of, oh, here's the optimal experience, and we want to provide that to the player. But they're not actually thinking, optimal is not how things work most of the time. What is going to be the average experience? It's going to be a screaming kid in the back. It's going to be a Twitch streamer talking constantly.
Yeah.
Your wife yelling at you.
Yeah, your wife always yelling at you.
Dancing. I'm going to have pigs tap dancing on my hardwood floors here. It's just that people don't want to hear that the whole game. There's a reason I always use push to talk in every single game.
And you have a gate. You have a $200 mic gate.
Yeah. I mean, I have a mic gate, which helps. But there's a lot of people who don't. Yeah. And it's like they don't want to hear all that stuff going on in the background. Listen to Saul. He's got his kids screaming death in the background sometimes. Yeah,
so he's murdering his children while we're playing 7 Days to Die. No, but you're right. I mean, it's what the biggest problem is. This is an old Xbox issue, Brian. If you played Xbox in the early 2010s, 2012, whatever, that's what it was. It was always on voice. So the kids talk. Well, in this case, it was like parents talking in the background. Your parents yelling at your friend for not doing something or doing something. That was every game. Every Call of Duty lobby, every Halo lobby was just full.
But PS4's like that too. PS4's still that way. They don't have a push to talk.
Well, they can't because you're not going to do push to talk on a console. There's not enough buttons.
So you have a switch on your headset. I mean,
you have a switch. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the solution.
Most people don't do that. You hear these people in the background and you hear everything.
Yes.
That's happening.
And that is not an optimal experience, as you've noticed. It's not an optimal experience. Now, we normally play small groups on the PlayStation. Not a big deal. But it's not optimal. And the fact that these developers, the Overkill people and the freaking Bethesda people who have no excuse, could not figure this out, and it's going to take them another 2 weeks to put it in, is in my opinion unacceptable. It is totally unacceptable. This needs to be in the game today. Somebody needs to challenge up go up the chain of command and say, why is this not in the game today? What is the reason for not pushing this single feature to the client today?
Well, okay, so, and here's the strange thing is they actually mark these as the high level issues being worked on. So these are their priority issues. which is scary. And it really makes me wonder what their development. I mean, one thing about you can say about H1Z1 and their development team, I think one of the downsides and one of the things that really caused them the most troubles was the fact that they had an old development team. And that's not necessarily talking about age. I'm talking about these guys were working on and coding, for like 20 years, and they were never forced to change to new and improved styles of working on programs and working as a team. Like they've been doing the same manner of how you work, fix bugs and everything in the style that was done 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And nowadays they do very different styles. They do, and as a bug comes in, you hit it, you get that bug done, you put it out immediately. That's not how they used to work in the old days. They didn't do that style. Like everything was very measured and timed. You did it, 2 weeks. This happened, and you did stages. Everything was stages, and nothing went ahead of something else. Obviously, that's what's happening here as well. And they don't understand that when they release this, you know what? It's probably going to make 10 more bugs. And then what are you going to do? Wait another month to fix those bugs? Like this needs to be something that they're doing. I think they're concerned if they change the system that's been working for them up to this point, something's going to go wrong. Well, something is already going wrong is the problem. They just they're not willing to, I think, maybe accept it.
Yeah, it's just frustrating. We are in I mean, here's the thing. In 2.5 weeks, people are going to be done. I mean, like, Fallout games are traditionally games that you play forever. Like you always just go back and you just play a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. In 2 weeks, people are going to be on within multiplayer games.
On to another game.
Or on to the next game. Like there's something new.
They don't understand that people won't come back. I mean, look at all these games. There's lots of games that are dealing with this struggle right now of they had their 2 weeks. I mean, look at Scum.
Yeah.
Beautiful game.
Yeah, what a waste of money that. Talk about a waste of money in a game. I mean, there's a great game. I've played it 2 hours. And I have no interest in playing because I just don't have any interest.
Well, I mean, that's the concern is if I don't think they understand that. Now, here's one more feature. I didn't list one more feature they're doing. Yeah. So they have a new camp feature, which allows you to remove small trees, rocks, and other obstructions. So it's easier to create and place your camp when and where you want it. You can also use the bulldozer to clear these items from the surrounding area to make your camp feel more like home. One question: as you come into a server, if someone's standing in that area and they're standing on that rock, are they just going to drop? Like, how are they going to seamlessly bring this in as players are joining servers? If you're standing in a place where a camp is, what happens to you?
Read it one more time. What is it? What exactly did it say?
So it lets you remove small trees, rocks, and other obstructions so you can place your camp where you want. It's called bulldozer.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just curious, or what if someone's standing in a place where your base is when you log in? What does the base form around you? Like, I think how does that work?
The base will build itself, from what I understand. It'll just in portions, kind of like a portabase. That's the whole thing. Is it just kind of pops open?
But what if you're standing where you're building?
It'll probably.
What if someone?
It'll probably push you. It'll probably just push you out of the zone. I mean, it'll teleport you probably 20 feet.
I'm just curious, like little things like that. I was wondering now that I've read these notes.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they've thought of that, since they didn't think of the whole camp placement thing before. Like, what? I'm just wondering if they've actually tested that.
I think Bethesda will leave Fallout 76 and have a much better appreciation for what it takes to build a multiplayer game, because this has got to be an eye-opening experience for everybody involved at Bethesda. The constant backlash, the constant I don't know what word you'd use, the constant grief that they're getting from the community because it's a live game and it's multiplayer, just the constant pinging that people aren't just shutting off their internet and playing, they're playing with their friends, and just that constant berating I'm sure that they're living in is got to be an interesting experience. Something that Activision, like the Call of Duty folks, deal with every year, right? Every year they release a multiplayer game that is full of issues. They've got people like me yelling at them on Twitter at 4:30 in the morning asking why the servers have been down for the first hour and a half of the launch. They're used to that, right? They've worked in that environment. But Bethesda, this is, I mean, you're talking about a whole new world.
Even like the fact that the fix that will cryo freeze anybody for 2 hours is something that's going to be a week out. Like that's just, if someone has that weapon, the cryolator, it freezes your player for 2 hours. Like you might as well just log out. I mean, what's the point? Like you could have someone just griefing everybody on the servers, run around, find everybody, freeze them for 2 hours, and they can't do anything short of logging out.
Yeah, I there definitely needs to be a
that should be an instant. They should remove that. We should have a note here that says we have disabled that weapon for now. We put out a small patch. We've disabled that weapon for now. A fix will be out in a week, and we'll re-enable the weapon.
Our friend Jay Delory in the chat is clearly playing a lot. He says he's already level 51 and he's seen level 110 already. Says the game still has bugs that were in Fallout 4. And then is asking if Fallout 6 is 76 is cross-platform. I don't think it is cross-platform. I haven't seen anything that indicates that it is.
I would be very surprised if it were. Since
there isn't a reason
PS4,
there isn't a reason that it couldn't be. The games are identical across all three versions.
Yeah, but the PS4, I mean, they have issues with cross-platform at the moment.
They do. So I would say probably not, but I don't think it would be hard for them to do. So am I giving a pass? Should anybody be giving a pass to Bethesda? No, I don't think so. They shouldn't get a pass. But there's definitely a lot of people are making this. I'm guilty of this, Brian. I'm guilty of this, Brian. You're guilty of this. Everybody's guilty of this. People are making judgments on the game based off of what they're seeing on Twitter and Reddit, which are typically the most extreme examples. Like when you buy a product on Amazon and it's got a 3-star review, and then you look at it and you realize the 1-star reviews are just idiots that either bought the wrong product or don't know how to use the specific product. And I'm not saying people writing on Reddit are idiots, but I think you've got a lot of that going around. For example, my cousin, who's a big Fallout fan, has got a in his mind has got made up the game as a certain way, not having played it based off of what people are saying. And we talked about it 100 times. How do you get over that, Brian? How do you convince people? I've asked every person we've developed on this show, or every developer that we've had on this show. I played your game 8 months ago and had a fine time. Or maybe I didn't have a great time. Why should I give your game a try again? And that's Bethesda now is going to have to do that. And it's going to be much harder. The same way that No Man's Sky tried to do it with this big update. It worked for some people, but frankly, nobody's playing the game now anyway. It was a quick peek, back down to nobody playing. So, yeah. Can they do it? I'm not sure. But it's really not as bad of a state as people are saying.
And what'll be interesting to see is if they're going to now create some sort of a DLC or expansion or something to try to bring in players, since it had such a negative kind of take. I think they were kind of thinking it would be a kind of a rusty, something like Rust.
Rusty.
You run around and you know what I'm saying? But it
yeah.
kind of had that feel of they don't really need to have content, right? You run around and you do stuff.
Yeah.
PvP and you do stuff. Like there's stuff in the world, you go out and do it. But I don't think that if that doesn't end up keeping people's attention, I'm interested to see if now they're going to be adding other content in the world that maybe they didn't originally anticipate on adding, to say, all right, maybe the launch wasn't what you wanted. Hey, we've got this. Come and get it for this.
Yep.
I think they almost need to be thinking in that way, to have that hook of, okay, here's something about Fallout that you loved before that we weren't going to have in here. Here it is. Come and buy it. And I think with the Fallout community, if it was enough of that, they would come and buy it because they want something Fallout. They don't feel like this is Fallout-y enough. Like just add a few features from the previous Fallout and then I think you would probably get those people to then say, "Oh, okay, well, well, I'll try it out," and that they may love it at that point. And maybe it's better now that they'd come and try it out after a lot of these things have been fixed.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. If you got it on sale, or if you can get it on sale, I think it's probably a good investment for the future.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're halfway through, Brian.
Yes.
If we want to open up a raffle here, we've got so much news to get into here. So while you're doing that, I want to cover something real quick. A game that we've been talking about a lot recently is Dead by Daylight, and they are releasing a new killer. I have gotten, I don't remember exactly how much time I've got in the game, but I want to say I've got 40 some odd hours in the game in the past 3 or 4 weeks. That's a lot of time. I've got 42 hours in the game in the last 3 weeks. So that's a significant amount of time. They've got a new killer in here. It's not a killer based off of any scary video game or movie. This is a new killer, and there's a couple new perks in here that are being added with the killer. One of the perks is at any time 2 or more survivors are working on the same generator, the generator's aura is highlighted for a short duration. There's another perk that says while carrying a survivor, you suffer no cooldown from missed attacks, and hitting another survivor will pause the carried survival's wiggle timer for a moment. The third perk is called Iron Maiden, and you open lockers faster. Additionally, when a survivor exits a locker, their location is revealed, and they suffer from the exposed status effect for a while. So they've got a new killer in here called the Legion, who moves very fast, can vault over pallets, which are the main objects you use to kind of stun the killer and get them to stop chasing you. Missed attacks have a shorter cooldown, and just by reading the description, I haven't played it yet, but by reading the description, this killer is going to be OP as hell. And this is in the test build of the game. So if you want to play, you can. I think it's live now if you download the test server. I think it's live now if you download the test server. So there you go.
Very good. All right, here. So I'm going to be giving away a copy of 7 Days to Die.
Whoa!
And so hopefully, maybe there's some people say, "Oh, I don't have it," so that's why they haven't been playing with us. If maybe, or someone who hasn't been hanging out because they played with us on H1Z1, and they're here again. Be a perfect kind of game for them to enter for. It's an excellent game. We've had a blast playing it, and I'm sure we'll be doing another game time once they release the actual Alpha 17. Maybe we can do another one, and with maybe some faster speed, something enhanced to speed it up a little bit and do a shorter one. And now that we know how to play, see what we could do in a shorter, faster game. But so if you want to do that, 7 Days to Die, we'll be giving that away. Exclamation point giveaway in chat, and we'll give that away before the end of the show.
Yes. So hopefully you can join us for that, and maybe we'll see you Friday night. All right. We've got an hour and 2 Google Doc pages worth of notes to cover, Brian. So where shall we start?
So here's an update on a story that came out a month or 2 ago, and we were asking what was going to happen with Telltail and the final episodes of the Walking Dead series that they were doing. And this has been answered because they have it to where they've put together most of that team, and they're actually they're resuming development efforts, and they're going to be finishing the 2 remaining episodes. And of course, this is something that will have been delayed from the original. I mean, it's supposed to already be released now, but they said they're getting everything back online, and we'll have everything back online. And if you already purchased season 4, you will not have to pay again, of course. Future episodes will be available to download as soon as they are released via the original point of purchase. So it's something that is now continuing. So if you can expect that we'll have out a finish to the story, which a lot of people were frustrated. That actually was a very good story, especially if you played the first 2. The character they really enjoyed, And so now you'll be able to actually finish the story and see what happens to her. It's Clementine, if I remember correctly.
There you go. Telltale.
Is her name.
Um,
Yep.
I've got something here, Brian.
Yes.
Seems like our show always misses out on the breaking news by a day. Always.
Yes.
Like we do a show on a Tuesday, it seems like every developer, Miscreated,
Announces on a Wednesday.
waits until like Wednesday to release all their stuff. Why not come on the Infection Podcast Tuesday night and let the whole world know?
There you go.
So we do the show Tuesday night, and we have a long conversation about Miscreated and their 1.0 release. And I'm not damned if I go to work Wednesday and scroll through Twitter at like 11 o'clock Eastern and don't see a freaking trailer with a release date announcement. Like I mean, the show's just barely hitting people's podcast feeds, and they are announcing here. So they've got a little launch trailer here of their 1.0, and we'll discuss the date and all this stuff when this is over here. I want to get your thoughts on it, Brian. So this is the Miscreated 1.0 release day trailer. All right, Brian. 1.0 is coming out December 18th.
Yes.
Now, I've got a couple of thoughts on this. First of all, they said the game was going to be out in December, and that's going to be the case. 1.0 is going to be out December 18th. That is, in fact, December. So, with that being said, let's talk about releasing your game on December 18th.
On a Tuesday.
Oh, is it a Tuesday? Great. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about releasing your game at, like, December 18th is how many days before Christmas?
It's 1 week.
It's a week. It is
1 week exactly before Christmas. We
seven-
got to figure out what are we going to do on the Christmas
Or
our episode. We'll have to figure that out.
I mean, are you around for Christmas? I wonder if it'd be kind of fun. I bet you a bunch of people would be there. I don't know. We probably won't do it on Christmas.
We'll talk about it.
We'll do something. Okay. Releasing your games 7 days before Christmas. Not 7 days to die, 7 days before Christmas. Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? I can see two ways of thinking about this. The first one, I think you could say, well, people are going to be off work for a couple days. People are going to be, home or doing that. Okay, agreed. Second, I fall into this category now, Brian. I will be traveling for Christmas. I'll be gone for almost. Now, I'm very lucky with my job that I have the luxury of actually going home for 2 weeks for Christmas. I'm able to work remotely in my situation. So I'm actually going to be gone like the 15th to the 1st. But there's a lot of people that travel around Christmas. Christmas is on a Tuesday. You'll have people that'll probably Thursday pack up everybody in the car and head on through the river, whatever, through the woods to grandmother's house we go. They're going to pack everything up and drive
over the hill through the woods
to grandmother's house, 6-8 hours away. And maybe they're going to be staying there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they're back at work on Thursday. Okay, so I got two things here. Is releasing your game on December 18th better than releasing it on January 18th or 15th when everybody is back, they're settled, work is kind of back to normal? You, the man with the answers, Brian. Tell us what the answer is.
I think for most kids, they're going to be off of school for a big period of that time, but at least that last half of the week. And so I'm thinking they're probably thinking of kids in high school, college kids are going to be home.
College will go home the 10th or something of December. I mean, they'll be home for a month.
Yep. And so I think that we don't really know the statistics of the average age of their players. We tend to think that they're a little bit older because that's who we run around with. but they may be looking at, hey, most of our player base, this is a perfect time because they're going to be off and they'll be able to do and whatever, play for however many days straight. So I don't think it's that bad. For me, it works out because I'm going to be home, and I'll probably set up a server, and maybe I'll look at what we can do to set up a private server for that.
It doesn't work for me,
It's
damn it. I think I'll be able to play it on my laptop. I don't know, man. This is a very. Are we gonna talk? Are we gonna have a chance to talk with the developers before the patch, or do you think it's gonna end up being after?
Well, we're not 100% sure on the date yet.
Okay.
So,
I would really love to know what their thought is. Obviously, they think releasing it beforehand isn't an issue. They are, but I'm genuinely curious on how they came to this conclusion. I think this is very controversial.
Yeah.
I think it could either go really well or really bad. I don't know if there's an in the middle here. You're either going to have a big jump of players or people are just not. Plus, you got to remember, people are going to be getting new toys for Christmas to be playing with.
Yeah.
The new game systems, Nintendo Switches, PS4
well, I bet
Pros,
they're hoping that
Red Dead.
they have enough time before that. I mean, they're probably hoping that, okay, they'll have a week before Christmas, so this is what they're playing for the week.
Yeah, but that can't be what they're thinking, Brian. You're telling me that they're hoping they can get a good peak for 7 days and then be done? I mean, think about this. You're going to have a whole bunch of people getting Red Dead Redemption for Christmas, a whole bunch of people getting Fallout for Christmas, a whole bunch of people getting Call of Duty for Christmas, the Switch, Xbox, PlayStation. I hope that their rationale was not, well, we'll get people for 6 days before Christmas. I can't imagine that's their mindset.
I mean, it's hard to say if that's when, because I don't know how many of their people are full time. It could be we just need to have it done by this day so that you can spend the week with your families.
Well, it seems like that's the opposite, though. I mean, you're releasing a multiplayer game.
Then you have to be dealing with bugs all over Christmas.
That's another issue. Yeah, absolutely, they're going to be dealing with bugs over Christmas. So I don't know.
And it's not optimal. You would think you'd want to do it enough weeks before to where you would be able to take Christmas vacation off and not be fixing last minute bugs that pop up.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe they're not that concerned about it.
Firebomb's saying he bought a PS4 Pro on Black Friday, but he says his wife won't let him open it till Christmas. But realistically, Brian, that's it. Like video games are very, very popular. Electronics are very popular during Christmas. I can tell you what.
Do you think they're thinking that this is kind of a midpoint of all these games that are being released? I mean, you got so many big titles coming out. I mean, how it's Christmas or AAA studios releasing other games all through the rest of the time.
I think the way that these games work, Conan, Miscreated, 7 Days to Die, H1Z1, Just Survive, Rust, Ark, all of these games work based on consistency. For a period of time, you play consistency, and people's schedules are not consistent between Thanksgiving and Christmas. People are traveling, there's days off work, there's crazy ass overtime because you got to hit a deadline before, your boss said that everything needed to be done by the 20th and you're not even close and it's the 18th and you've got to, there's a lot of inconsistencies between Christmas or Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I just don't know if you're going to be able to build a consistent player base. I know for a fact you're not, because people are not going to be playing the game on Christmas Eve. People are not going to be playing the game on Christmas Day. People are not going to be playing the game on New Year's Eve. That's an issue. That is a huge issue. Barbie even brings up, don't forget about New Year's. There is so much inconsistency in this time period, Brian. So much inconsistency. And I just can't imagine you're going to build a solid Conan-style player base, which is, in my opinion, the rule book that every developer needs to follow when they release a 1.0. Follow the way Conan did it, because they literally took their game with 800 players and now have a solid player base of 4 times that. And the update has been out for 6 months now. I mean, it's crazy. So,
but I mean, your alternative is, I mean, for instance, I'm going to mention now, in 2 days, Mavericks is being released.
Oh, I forgot about
Mavericks. To the Forge people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a competition in the player base.
Mm-hmm.
So give them 2 weeks to play Mavericks and decide whether or not it's worth playing beyond that.
But that's a limited player base, just to be clear.
Yeah, but it's still it's people that enjoy that kind of PvP and running around. Like
Good point.
in a supposedly beautiful world. It's a lot of the same players. So it could be that they're timing it of, all right, let's give Mavericks 2 weeks to kind of have people feel like they've figured that out. And then we're releasing right after. I mean, I'm not saying that that's their thinking, but if they released earlier, they'd be releasing on the toes of Mavericks, which there's a lot of hype behind. And it may be a big flop, and people say, I'm done with that, waiting until they get closer to being released or whatever. Or, have all these fixes and they may be at that point ready to walk away. I mean, it's a gamble. I don't know. I don't know what they could do differently because and we've talked about this the last 2 weeks. There's so many games and so many things coming out constantly. How does a studio figure out when they're going to release? It's constant now.
I agree. I don't think the 18th is. I don't think the 18th is a good idea. I could be totally wrong. I'm just saying. I don't like it. And it's not. And I was joking when I said it doesn't fit my. I'm not going to be available to play. It's not that. I want the game to succeed. I just don't feel like there's going to be so much going on in that time frame. And and the problem is they promised it would be out in 2018. And if they don't release it now, then they're liars.
They're going to be releasing it. Well, they'd have to release it during Christmas or during New Year's. I mean,
but they'll have to release it in 2019 if they don't release it in December 18th. When are you going to release it? Christmas Day? I mean, then they lied, which is a whole nother can of worms. So I guess if the option is release in 2018 and not have to deal with the backlash, or wait till January 8th or whatever arbitrary date. So that's big news. 1.0 is coming out December 18th. Like it or hate it, it'll be here. And I guess that Friday, which is the 21st, typically we take that off, but we probably will do it as our game of the week. We'll either do it on the 21st or the 28th. Probably maybe the 28th. Maybe we'll take that Friday off.
Yeah,
we'll see. But we'll be playing that either the 21st or the 28th. We'll have we can actually spin up a server now. I forgot about that. We'll be able to spin up our own server, and right? Yeah, there's dedicated. They now allow you to self-host servers.
We'll just see if it's all ready to go at that point in time. But you'll be able to do your own server hosting at that point.
Perfect. So we'll have a server spun up, and we'll have a good time, or we'll just play in a public one. Either way, it won't really matter.
We'll figure it out.
And hopefully, again, we'll be talking with the developers here in the next couple of weeks as well. Do you want to show a couple of these screenshots for them, or do you want to move on?
Oh yeah, actually you can just show them really quickly. So these are just some of the items that are coming up. The first one is a cleaver. So this is a melee weapon. And it is pretty much what you would expect. It is a cleaver. So, looks good. It'd be interesting to see how it carries over the game. But it does 40 damage and it has a 72% bleed chance. So they have weapons that, depending on how sharp they are, they'll cause whoever you hit to bleed or whatever you hit to bleed. And then they have some of Nick, I think you'd be excited about this.
I saw this
some
earlier.
of the weather.
Yeah, when you posted this in the show notes, I was like, holy moly, dude, this snow looks legit.
Yeah, and so this will be actually changing weather. So most of the games we run into, it's that all the time. This will actually have a weather system to where it starts snowing and things get covered in game as it snows. You have rain in the game. You'll have all these different effects. So it's actually changing a system. So that's going to be cool. What they claimed they were going to do in exactly. You read my mind.
I did not believe you just were going to go there, Brian. Oh, man.
They said they were going to do an H1Z1. They pulled it up. Perfect timing. Yeah, so they said that they were going to do this in H1Z1. This is something they claimed, and these guys have actually pulled it off, and I think it looks better than what H1Z1 would have looked like. But
remember snow in H1Z1, Brian?
Yeah.
People, for the audio listeners, Brian was just about to bring up snow in H1Z1, and of course I had to pull up their lame attempt at turning everything in the game white, and I mean that was spot on. That was good. I'm a good producer. What can I say?
We think a lot. Yep. Before I even can say it, you're ready.
When it comes to H1Z1 bashing, you and I are on the same wavelength. And then we've got one more video or something.
Yeah, one of the new mutants.
Cool. Oh,
so
this
is
badass.
Called the Brute.
Looks like
they better have a lot more ammo than they had before.
He looks He looks like a Left 4 Dead monster, but he looks like the big guy in Left 4 Dead. The not Spitter. I don't remember what his name is. The one that rushes you.
Yep.
Tank.
The tank. Yeah. So that's the thing is they better have a lot of ammo because before ammo was so sparse.
Yep.
And with all these creatures and all these new weapons, like I hope they turn up the ammo a little bit, so that you can actually kill things. Because before you didn't want to kill anything because you didn't have extra bullets. I mean, you're meleeing everything.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Miscreated. Now I want to mention something really quick.
Yep.
They did announce this past week when Red Dead Online.
Yeah, they announced it on Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning, they announced when it's coming online, and actually today, the people that bought the top tier of the Ultimate Edition of Red Dead, they are able to play it today. Now tomorrow, Wednesday, everyone who played on the first day will be able to play then.
What are you doing tomorrow night, Brian?
I'll be playing some Red Dead.
Excellent.
Red Dead Online.
Yeah, hell yeah, Red Dead Online.
And everyone who's played between October 26th and the 29th will be able to play on Thursday, and then Friday everybody will be able to play. So I guess that's good. For people who are like, oh, I'm going to wait till online comes out and then I'm going to buy it. They get to play it last.
Yeah. And now to remind you, this is the beta of the online. I really hate, by the way, that Rockstar's using that word. Rockstar's better than that. They really are. I mean, I don't like that at all. But they're calling it a beta. And I tried not to watch a whole lot of streams today. I decided I didn't want to see a bunch of it. I watched but didn't listen and didn't have captions on. So I was just able to kind of look in and peer in to see what was happening. It appears that there's like quests and whatnot in the online mode. You create a whole new character from what I watched. You create a separate online character.
Be a male or female.
Yep. My cousin was trying to get together a group of people and he texted me and said, oh geez. The group online, you make a posse is what you make inside the game, I think. And you have to beat the tutorial, which I think is that initial quests, and then it is $200 to create it. I don't know how verifiable that is, but that's what he's saying. So to create an online group, a clan online, you got to beat the tutorial, and then somebody's got to have $200 to create the group. So I'm looking forward to it. They've got I love this screenshot that they've got here on their website of like the whole gang rolling into a city. I've seen some funny images already of like people talking and then one person pulls out a lasso and hooks the person and drags them behind their horse. Seems like it's going to be more GTA than it is going to be GTA public online than it is like Payday where it's all quests. It does seem like there's a lot of the open world, which we frankly we literally didn't know. And that's why we're not really doing. That's why we're not going to do Red Dead 2 multiplayer this Friday night. We'll do it next week when everybody's got full access to it. We'll do that for our game of the week next Friday because I really don't know. And we might not. Maybe we realize the online really isn't meant for that. So plan on that for next Friday.
They'll have free roam missions.
Yep.
And those actually change based on your outlaw level. So whether you're good, they'll have you do one type of quest. If you're bad, maybe you'll rob something. They'll have multi-part series types of missions. And those parts will change based on your honor. They'll have so we everybody had asked about BR, right?
BR.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. So first they're gonna have the generic classic gunfight shootouts, unlimited lives, pretty much I guess a Call of Duty style, where you run in and try to rack up a certain number of kills. And then they have one that they call Make It Count. So this one, it says a true test of resourcefulness in 2 game modes. Use nothing but a bow and a handful of arrows or throwing knives to be the last one standing in a gradually shrinking player area. There's nowhere to run.
Zone.
So pretty much it's like BR with either arrows or throwing knives, 2 different styles. Then they have Most Wanted, which is a tactical race to the top. Every kill pushes you up the scoreboard, but the closer to the top of the scoreboard you are, the more points everyone else gets for killing you. Then they have Hostile Territory, where you have to control zones. And then Name Your Weapon, which is a free-for-all or team-based match trickier weapon you use to land your killing blow, the more points you get. So those are the game modes that they're going to be doing. And it'll be interesting to see how these all play out. I mean, I'm kind of worried about how trolly it's going to be for, if you're actually going to be able to play without it just being a troll, because that's what we ran into in GTA of people flying by in helicopters and blowing you up when you're just trying to do something.
Well, that's the thing is you in GTA you could be walking on the street or flying a literal jet. That was the difference in level of like means of moving, vehicles in the game. Walking on your 2 feet or flying a jet at 500 miles an hour. In this, you're either riding a horse or you're not riding a horse. Like there is no supersonic jet that's flying around. So I feel like there won't be that gap between what different players are doing. So that's good. I
really want the posse to be able to have a camp, like have a camp or a base or something.
I think they can. I don't know though. There was somebody placing some type of base thing in one of the streams I was watching. It was hard. The problem is it's hard to get the news from the streams because everybody's all over the place and they're not explaining what they're doing. They're interacting with their chat. So until we play it, we'll have a better idea next week. But I think there is some type of posse group system because it is not your single player save. This is totally separate, like very similar to GTA.
It says you can take on word challenges throughout the open world and earn 12 different categories of awards, like combat, hunting, sharpshooter, survivalist. Those are some examples of it. So they'll have hunting, fishing. It'll be interesting to see. I'm curious, and hopefully it's because I want to put time to that. I mean, I beat the rest of this stuff. I still want to play it. I'm hoping that it's something that's just not super trolly and annoying to play. But it's until you get in there and see how they've done it. And I just don't want to sit there and, as you said, watch streams of other people playing and kind of lose the newness of it as I play.
Yeah. So we'll have a full description next week once we play it.
So here's one thing. You acquire a horse, set up a camp, hunt down treasure, and then equip your ability card, which we don't 100% know what that is yet. Maybe I don't know what that is. You think it's what type of a player you are? Maybe you're a
because it's
sharpshooter versus.
Maybe.
I just wonder what do they mean by ability card? I mean,
it's going to be some perk online. Yeah, I don't really know what those are going to be.
Yeah. So your first one, so you probably just build them up, and maybe one will make it so you have the ability to shoot a certain weapon better. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see.
Gotcha.
All right. Do you have a preference?
I'm trying to think of what is the most.
Okay. So this Jace Hall thing, and we could talk a little bit about that. We can't really cover it because it's really long.
Yeah, let's talk about H1Z1. We're just kind of we'll scrap all the other news of the week, and we'll talk about H1Z1. So last week we covered the H1Z1 Pro League suspending play after its first season. This was due to some financial issues. There was an article that was released by VP Esports, a very long article. I read through it after the show last week, and had a chance to read through it, and boy, was it an extensive article. They not disregarding if all the information is accurate or not. It was a very, very extensive article. They went through a lot of it. Now, Jace Hall did a Periscope on it was last Tuesday. No, it wasn't Tuesday. It was Tuesday. We talked about it on the show. It was Tuesday night after we did the show. He did a Periscope that was 3.5 hours long, and I watched about 2.5 hours of it, and he kind of went through the article and challenged almost every point in it. And the problem with that is there's no rebuttal from the other side. It was a one-way conversation. And I'm not saying that's
Well,
a bad thing.
He went point by point through every topic. Some of the things he said, you know what, they're right. Some of them.
Yeah, and he did. But the point is, like, he's saying, like, well, they're saying that they've talked to a whole bunch of people. They couldn't have talked to anybody if they're saying this. That's kind of like the one side of things that it was like, well, I mean, why would they say they talked to sources with inside information? And then he's saying nobody would, nothing like that has ever been talked about. That element of it, I'm not buying. Let's talk about the real problem here. And this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but frankly, I don't really care. H1Z1 has shown us no love, and I frankly don't care. I watched a 2.5 hour Periscope, a 2.5 of a 3 hour Periscope of a guy who is allegedly the CEO of the H1Z1 Pro League. That is just, he's the chairman of Twin Galaxies and is running the Pro League. He's also now in charge of the direction of H1Z1 and H1Z1 Just Survive. He's in charge of all of those projects. And what I saw on a Periscope was a guy who is in charge that takes no responsibility for anything anybody does below him, which is not how a leader leads. And I'm not going to sit here and talk to you like I've got some great leading experience, but from the amount of time that I've spent working, which hasn't been that long, I'm 21, and the amount of books I've read on office leadership and how management leadership and all this other stuff, I'm in a management role. It is unacceptable to say, well, as the CEO, those people are doing this thing. I'm not sure about that. That's unacceptable. The buck stops here when you're the CEO.
So some of the big issues, though, were prior to him taking control.
Totally agree. Now
I think the whole Pro League issue of payments and all this stuff, he did explain some of the issues with that.
Yeah, he did.
And now part of the issue was they made agreements to pay the teams a certain amount of money, and they pay, and then the teams were responsible for the players individually. So if the players didn't get paid, that's because the team they were on didn't pay them. Here's how he explained it, and people can try to dig into it, and I think he's being honest about how this was set up. He said, we gave a certain amount of money to the teams. We didn't tell them how much to pay each player. We didn't tell them anything. And what we ended up doing was we set a minimum that they were supposed to give their players, but they could offer their players whatever they wanted to pay them. We didn't oversee that. Now those teams, maybe they offered people more money than what they should have, right? The teams weren't paying the players. They paid, I think, half of the money up front.
You mean the league wasn't paying the players?
No, Jace's company paid them like $40,000 or whatever. He paid them the first half.
Paid the teams the first half.
The teams the first half.
The teams paid the players.
Were then in charge of paying the players, and the teams weren't paying the players.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think they then realized that they weren't getting more money in from this, then they backed away, and they probably didn't. I had to look into it, but they probably didn't pay their second payment, right?
Yes,
because there was no money coming in. But if somebody didn't get paid anything, that's a team issue, because a lot of money was put into it. Millions of dollars were put into it that, then they said, all right, this isn't bringing any money, didn't do what we wanted. And so they didn't make the second payment, but they should have been paid with that first payment that went to the teams. The teams should have paid those people. And they didn't.
Absolutely.
So he can't be 100% held accountable.
He shouldn't be held accountable at all.
And H1Z1 tanked. I mean, there was no profit. There was no way of making profit at that point in time. It seemed like everything was cool, and then overnight, it felt like the whole player base vanished.
Yes,
people were no longer interested in it. I mean, it's just the way games go sometimes.
And my issue wasn't with the Pro League as much as it was talking about. Great example. Well, they did the deal on Facebook, and he talked about, well, Facebook made us a certain offer. Twitch made us a certain offer. Facebook's offer was a little more lucrative, I guess. So they went with Facebook. And then talking about, well, why are you streaming the tournaments at 9:30 Eastern on a Thursday night? And that's when well, this and that the other departments and that decision was, it doesn't work for me, Brian. Doesn't work for me. You are in charge, and it is your idea to it's your responsibility to know why.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't go correctly, which it is, they screwed up. They screwed up about the timing, and he didn't blatantly admit it. He said, "Oh, we'll probably readjust it." No, they screwed up. You did a tournament live on the internet on Facebook at 9:30 on a weeknight Eastern. Terrible idea.
Do you think at that point in time he might not have realized how much of the player base is actually from China?
Possibly.
Do you think he took that for granted?
Maybe, but the whole point is, Brian, he just made excuses for 3.5 hours. I don't want excuses. Yeah. I'm not looking for all the answers, but God damn it, if I didn't sit and watch 2.5 hours of him making excuses about the game. Well, the player base did this, and the player base did that, and the marketing department did this, and the marketing department did that. Irrelevant. You are the CEO. Yeah. Fix it. Because at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to fix it.
He's not the CEO.
But he's not. But he's
saying that.
He's the CEO of the Pro League, which is where this whole article started.
Which no longer exists.
Well, that is not true. He made that very clear. The league still exists. The league is not insolvent. It still exists.
Okay, so technically it still exists.
The league still exists, and I guess the plan is to bring it back at some point. But he's in charge of H1Z. He is now leading the direction of H1Z1.
Yeah.
So to make excuses for 3 hours is not okay. How can you be in charge of the development of the game when you can't answer the questions? And according to the article, he doesn't even go to work. He works from home. That's a huge problem when you're in charge of leading the direction of a game. When you're not living it, when you're not in the trenches fighting it, how do you have a full grasp of what's going on? That's a huge issue, Brian.
Yeah, I just don't know how much of the data, they like to put him as, he's in charge, trust him. How much of the day-to-day is he really in charge of, though?
He makes it sound like he's the freaking king.
But I don't think that's true. I think that's maybe what they're trying to put across so that, they can say, hey, look at what he's doing. I think really he is sitting in probably similar to what happened with PUBG and Brendan. He's not in the day-to-day anymore. But he is a figurehead that goes to conferences and sits in meetings to discuss direction.
But that's been clear. But Brandon has never been the lead. Brandon, since the game was taken on by Bluehole, I have got his business card somewhere. It's like it doesn't say associate. It says it's something of the effect of like game direction manager or something of that regard. It does not say owner of PUBG.
Like that's why I think that's more realistically his actual role. I think he's exactly the same as Brendan, and you could get mad and say, "Oh, Brendan, why isn't this fixed in PUBG? And why aren't you doing this in PUBG?" He's overseeing the general direction of it.
Yes, but Brandon doesn't make it. But Brandon doesn't go on Twitter and say, "I'm going to fix all the problems." That's the problem with Jace. Is he sets himself up.
What he needs to not try to be that role. He wants to be the one who gets all the praise, but he's got to be ready for all the
and that's kind of my point as well. Is you can't put out on social media that you are in charge of the whole game direction, which is what they said. Him, Clegg, and Anthony Castellano, whatever his last name is, sat down on a Twitch stream and talked about how pretty much those three were in charge of H1Z1, pretty much in charge of the PC version of H1Z1. Those three were in charge. Those are the only names that we've that have been anywhere associated with the direction of the game. And then push comes to shove, there's an article coming out slamming the Pro League and slamming Jace Hall in H1Z1, and his response is, well, I don't know. And I don't know. And that was so-and-so's department, and that was this department doing this, and that was that department doing that.
Yeah, he doesn't know because he's probably not really as in charge as what people are claiming.
Then that's a problem.
They're trying to put across.
Well, then he needs to stop putting that forward.
Yeah, they need to be honest and just say, all right, here's my role in the company. No more, no less. Here's what I'm able to do. I think they just want to make it like he's coming in and fixing the whole thing. They want to make it, don't worry, no one from before is doing anything. It's all this new direction. I think it's all, he's coming in to save the day, trust in the process, and it's going to all get fixed, when that's really probably not close to what's happening.
Here we go. Here's a direct post here's a forum post on H1Z1's website. Jace Hall, I'm reading this from the thing. Now, as many of you already know, a few days ago, I mentioned on my Twitter that I have taken the lead on the PC version of H1Z1. He's in charge of it. Taking the lead. That means you were in charge of it. No?
Well, yeah. But
that's what he says.
He's saying that, but I don't think that he actually has that power.
Well, then he's a freaking liar. And he's misportraying himself online, which is why this article was so critical of him. The article was so critical of him and H1Z1 because he says he's in charge of everything, and they ask questions about, well, why is this, and this not happening? And his response is, well, I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's what they're putting across. I think they're putting that across. I mean, we're kind of used to Daybreak not being 100% honest.
Freaking typical Daybreak. You can take the name out of it. You can take the people out of it. It is the same shit as always, Brian. This is the same crap that we've been talking about for 3.5 years. It's the same garbage. No freaking accountability. Nobody has any idea what the hell's going on. Nobody can answer any questions. It's just behind this veil of bullshit. I mean, that's all it is. It's a veil. Soon this, soon that, soon that. It's a veil. It's facado. It's total BS.
Yeah.
And the direction has changed. Now it's owned half by this mobile gaming company and Daybreak. It doesn't appear any of it matters. It's the same excuses, and it's the same no accountability.
Mobile company is probably people from that mobile company are probably running almost the whole thing.
Well, that may be the case, but there's no accountability. I mean, that's you talk about your real problem there. There's no accountability. That article held Jace Hall accountable, and he just pawned it all off on other people. There was very few situations in which he said, I made a mistake. Very few situations.
I didn't hear that. Now, the closest I saw him to saying I made a mistake was Facebook.
Yeah.
Didn't pay. We weren't sure. We made a gamble pretty much of whether or not Facebook was going to be a relevant streaming service.
And he shouldn't apologize for that. That's not something I want him to apologize about. They made it. He literally said, we made the gamble, and if Facebook became the next Twitch, people would associate H1Z1 with this next big gaming platform. That is almost verbatim what he said. I don't want an apology for that.
Just say we made a gamble and it didn't pay off, and now we're paying for it.
Yeah, it's not. That's not what I'm pissed off about.
I think that was the closest to an apology that he said during the whole thing. The rest of it was, well, this is how the industry works, or this is
just excuses. It was excuses for 2.5 hours.
But okay, so here's one where I could say, maybe how the industry works. But when he was talking about the budgets for having these like Summit 1G and these people come in, he was like, well, we have budgets set aside, and 2.7 million goes to this, and
that's
okay.
True.
Well, if you don't have enough money to play your players, maybe you guys mismanaged what the budgets were for each thing. I mean, you ran out of money.
That is probably true. Yeah.
But he didn't really admit to it. I mean, but this is the thing, is they were expecting probably much bigger numbers to where that would have all not have mattered if they would have pulled big numbers to the streams. When everything didn't pull out, I mean, they just lost money because they only hit 7,000 people watch.
Yeah, it was abysmal. And then, he's arguing about, well, current players isn't concurrent players, and even though it says there's 2,000 people playing, there's hundreds of thousands of active players, and Clegg and Anthony were all over Twitter.
Period,
I mean, just what a load of crap. People can read numbers. We have done current players in this show for freaking 3 years.
Well, these guys, they could pull accounts. They could see how many unique accounts are playing. And that if they really wanted to come back with numbers, say, we show that, 50,000 or 100,000 unique accounts play the game in a week. Okay, that would give us an idea of how many people are logging in. We don't know how long they're each playing. I mean, they could keep pulling numbers and try to figure that out. But then at least we would know, okay, 100,000 people are playing. They may be only playing a match or two and then logging off, and then consistently over time, there's like 2,000 people playing at any one moment. I mean, you could say numbers like that, But instead, he didn't say that. He just said that's not the same thing. There's lots of people playing. I mean, that's what he didn't give a specific. They could get the specific numbers, but they're not giving them to us, which probably means that it's not something worth bragging about, which I'm pretty sure it's not.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I'll cover the current players here in a little bit. There's less than 1,300 people playing the game as we speak. It is 9 o'clock on the East Coast. It is 6 o'clock in California. There should be more than 1,300 people playing your game.
Yep. So, I mean, we have all the links. Well, we'll have a link to this full article in the show notes. You can go check it out.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of points they cover. And then we have a link to the video from Jace Hall that you can watch through the whole thing as he goes through. It's a couple hours.
I'd recommend you watch it. If you are a real H1Z1, if you're a real H1Z1 enthusiast, I highly recommend you watch it. I don't hate Jace. I still will hold this opinion, Brian. If there is anybody that can actually fix it, I still think it's Jace Hall. I've consistently said that, and I will continue to say that until I can think otherwise, until I have other information. I still think he can fix it, but he needs to rein everything in and take control and be a leader in it. That was one thing that I think Smedley, why the game was so successful at its launch, and it was because based on, you look at Smedley's Twitter now, he is a leader. Yep. He takes, it appears, I haven't worked with him, it appears that he takes control and whips everybody else into shape and says, this is the direction we're going to follow. This is how we're going to do it. I'm the leader. I'm in charge. This is my vision. This is how the game's going to go. And yep. you need that when you've got a game being developed, when you need to rein in a whole bunch of different pieces of the puzzle.
I mean, you need to make the game first, and then you can go through and start adjusting it and tweaking it afterwards. But if one person doesn't have an overall view of here's how the game is going to be on launch day, you will never get anything done. I mean, we've seen it over and over, or you'll get something done that's not done correctly or well, or everything conflicts because one guy wants to do it this way and another group wants to do another section this way and they don't mesh. I mean, we found that the game was much better when he ran it, and instantly just went nowhere when he left. So,
yep, I agree.
All right, totally. So should we just skim through the rest of these? We'll mention what people can go check out on our show notes.
Is there any other really big stuff? I think
so. H1Z1, they did hire their community manager.
Yeah,
so Jason Burns, Supersonic is he's an esports commenter.
Ah, cool.
So you've seen him on the streams for the Pro League and things like that. So he is now the community manager for Z1 Battle Royale. So you may recognize him from streams. Also, Fortnite, they announced they're having 200 million registered users on Fortnite right now. They're putting out some big numbers for concurrent players. There's the 0.6 or 6.3 patch and the 6.31 patch that they put out here in the last week. So check that out. PUBG put out pretty much a hot fix, 23.1 hot fix. The Long Dark, one thing I was going to mention, they're having a delay. The reasoning, usually when we hear delay, we're like, okay, something's going totally wrong. But for their kind of new season, or they put out episodes or add additional content kind of in episodes. The reason that they didn't is because they purchased all of the equipment for motion capture from the old Capcom studio in Vancouver. And so they were able to purchase that. So now they're going through and they're using it through the end of the year.
Isn't that cool?
To get a lot of cool motion capture that they're going to be putting for the characters and things in the game. So I guess that's a positive thing. It's only delaying it by a month, but that's going to give them time to go through, be able to get facial capture and everything else into the game. Should just add to it. Dead by Daylight, you talked about the new killer. No Man's Sky put out another one. There is a video for that, but it's their Visions update. And this adds some cool visual enhancements and different things in the game. We'll have a video if you want to go check it out. A couple new Ring of Elysium updates. Also, the big thing is they now have European servers. So I don't know if we'll want to go in and if we want to do that for a game of the week coming up, now that we can have the people in the EU actually play with us.
That's a good idea.
Dead Matter, we'll have some screenshots on there. If you want to go check out some of the cool visuals, they've been doing a really good job with the world. DayZ has an update. that you can go check out. And then let's see, the Darwin Project says their 1.17 update out. Black Wake has 3.75 update out. And then a game that I've been playing a little bit this week called one game I've been trying to play is Fractured Lands.
Okay.
But I can't. I finally got in today to a match that will actually start because there were enough players.
What is this? I don't.
It's a Mad Max style VR game.
Oh, cool.
But it feels very much like Mad Max. It's got that very rough, gritty, like cars. You can upgrade your cars and smash into other cars. But the thing is they just don't have players. And so I've been watching it because I wanted to actually get in there and see how it worked. I'll have more for you as they're still developing it, but I'll have more for you. There's just not people playing it because they're charging money.
Would you like to hear how many people are current? Would you like to guess the over on how many people are currently playing? 24.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And you want to know why? Because this is their dev play night. It starts at 6 Pacific.
Damn. That's right now.
And so I've been trying to go in there and play. Like I've been watching their Discord, and some people will say, "Hey, queue up," and we've been getting it to where it gets to 5 players because that allows you to start a match. So when we get to 5 players, and then it actually starts because I want to run around and actually see it. So that tells you the state of the game. The 24 is the high of the week.
You know what I would do, Brian? I would take a second mortgage on your house and invest in the Fractured Lands Pro League if I were you. That's
perfect.
That's what I'd do if I were you.
I've been trying my hardest to play it because I want to give. I got a free key. I want to give an honest.
Whoa! You got a free key? Well, I didn't get a free key.
You don't apply for them.
Where do I apply for them?
I'll give you a website later.
You scumbag! You've been getting all the free using our infection clout to get free stuff for you. That is pay for play, my friend. I'm gonna sue you.
But I want to be honest for them, and at least give a review. Not I couldn't get in, so that be my review. Like I've done my hardest to get in there. So
you try. Because I wouldn't try. I'd be like, no, it ain't happening.
Yeah, I've been watching it and like working it. And then another one I've been playing is called Y-Lands.
Okay.
It's pronounced islands, but it's with the Y-Lands. Very much a kind of an upgraded Minecraft type of feel.
Ooh.
And it's I think it's definitely worth checking out. It was on sale during the Black Friday, but it uses kind of that poly. Like what 7 Days uses, to where you can dig in the ground lowers. It's more of that style rather than being giant blocks. You can dig the ground and you can build big bases, and you can actually progress. So you learn to make new things. You can get it to where you eventually make a car. You can make a helicopter, like a personal helicopter backpack. Like it progresses through time as you start out pretty much Stone Age. And it is a lot of fun, but the thing is I don't know other people that are playing it. There's one other person who'd recommend it to me that's playing it.
That's a problem.
But I'm saying it's one of those that if you got people playing it, it's kind of like 7 Days. Oh, it's a lot of fun. We're all in there doing it.
Yeah.
Because like your first thing, you start on a little island, and then your goal is to make a boat so you can get off the island.
Oh man.
And then it takes you to a bigger continent. And then you're able to do all this cool stuff. And so I'm still in the stage to where I'm on the island trying to get to make a boat, and get off. But it's one of those where there's the progression, and you get it to where you kind of advance over time to where it seems like it's going through different time generations. I don't know. It looks like a lot of fun. They actually have modes, so you can go in and create game modes. So they have like a zombie wave mode to where zombie waves are coming in at you. Like you can create your own. It's just a sandbox. So it's a really cool. So I would encourage people to go check it out. It's spelled Y-L-A-N-D-S, so Y-Lands, but in their videos I've heard them pronounce it Islands.
There you go.
So all right. Is that pretty much it? I mean, we've skipped. So remember, Navrix is if you were what are they calling it? Forge?
Something like that.
Calling it. If you're one of the people who backed it early on, then we should be able to play it in 2 days. So on the 29th
Do
So
we
keep
have
an eye
a
out for that.
do we have a hookup with them? Don't we know or know somebody that knows them?
Yes, Judd.
We probably need to talk to them.
Yep.
That'll be good.
So so we could try to work out something and see. I'm kind of curious just to see what it's like, to see if it's worth talking to them.
This game and Miscreated are very similar, I think. Are trying to be these games, both of them can set themselves apart as the survival game on PC. The zombie, I know Miscreated doesn't call them zombies, but the zombie, survival game on computer, because there's still nobody owns it yet. It's still the Wild West. So,
Well, and this will be interesting to see how well Spatial OS is implemented, what that really means, because I think that's something that this is the first major title that people will probably be playing that is using Spatial OS. I think we'll be seeing a lot more because they did release all the stuff for Unreal Engine. I think we'll start seeing games rolling out using it, but this will be the first real game that's come out like this. That's from what we can tell, taking advantage of that technology.
Yeah, that's for sure. There's been a lot of talk about it. You've talked about it 100 times on the show, and it's just been one of these things, hoping that a developing company can come through and actually get it, use it, and implement it correctly where it is relevant. So we look forward to that here in a couple of days. Yeah, and then hopefully I don't know, early 2019 maybe we have something playable for a public. That'd be kind of neat. All right. We literally didn't cover anything like any of our notes, but it's fine. I thought we had some good conversations. Let's talk about games and who's playing all of them. A segment called Current Players, where that's what we do. All right, currently playing H1Z1. Now, this is the Battle Royale version. I hinted there's 1,250 players. 1,250. The 24-hour peak is 3,871. Over 7 days, at any given point over the last 7 days, the max people playing were 6,546. That's not hot. It's not hot at all. Let's talk about Ark, who is still riding the DLC wave, currently playing 41,868. Your 24-hour peak, 63,152. And the 7-day, 84,379. Moving on over to 7 Days to Die. Solid player base, even comparison to last week. Currently playing 15,086. The 24-hour peak, 18,683. With a 7-day peak, which we were part of, the 27,389 player peak. And that is 7 Days to Die. And that is, that's current players. That's who's playing all the games. By the way, H1Z1. Fortnite. Here's the article. I read this earlier in the week. According to Epic, the concurrent player base worldwide is 8.3 million concurrent. Epic Games Korean CEO said in an interview that the game now has 8.3 million concurrent players worldwide. Concurrent. That means at one time. That's not registered. That's concurrent. That is 1/10 of the human population.
Crazy.
That's a lot of freaking players.
Yep.
And you mentioned 200 million registered users.
Yep.
That's nuts. So
that is
license to print money. Keep bringing out hot dog and hamburger skins, and can't wait for Christmas. Christmas is going to be freaking fantastic.
See, my big thing is it's freeing them up to be able to not. I mean, they're able to put. I mean, they're getting a lot of resources in, but it's doing nothing but hopefully improving the Unreal Engine, which for us is going to improve other games that are being created under that engine.
For sure.
So that's. I mean, I don't care what they do, as long as they're continuing to improve that system, because it's going to make all of our games even better.
A rising tide raises all ships.
Yep. All right. So let's go and do a tip of the week, where either it's a general gaming tip or one that we've been playing here quite a bit lately on a specific game, 7 Days to Die. So this is tip of the week. All right. So we kind of hinted at some of this a little bit during the show, but they have in Alpha 17 an expanded quest system. And these quests actually give very good rewards. And what we found is can be very challenging, especially as you get to tier 4 and tier 5 quests. So what you'll want to do is to have each person in your group. So they have two systems now. They have allies and then a group. Are people that are you consider friendly anywhere on the server, and then they actually have when you join in. Each time you log in, you have to either be accepted into a group or create a new group to where you all see each other's names and are working together. So with this group, have everybody go to Trader Joe's and pick up one of his quests. I would recommend picking up the hardest level quests that you can get, whatever, because that will give the best reward. Have each person pick up, you only can pick up one quest at a time. And then you can actually share that quest with the other people in your group. So go in, you'll hit at the lower left of the quest screen, you can hit share and then they'll see actually in the left side, you'll be able to share it. And then in their lower left, they will see an option to accept that quest. Once everybody's accepted that quest, all of you need to head to one location and pick up, and go to the location of the first quest that you're going to do. What you'll outside of that, you'll see an orange exclamation mark that's floating in the air. Everybody needs to be standing around that, and then the person that picked up the quest originally, they can then start the quest. And then if it's one where you have to clear a building, it resets that building and makes it so you can all walk into the building and start clearing it. And from what we can tell, I think it kind of tiers it based on the number of people, because we've run into buildings that are incredibly difficult. And so once you pull that in there, everyone goes in, clears it, you'll finish your quest. Then you can go on to the next quest, or if you want to go back to Trader Joe's, everyone can turn that in. Now, if you die during the process, you lose the quest. If you finish the quest and then you die, you can still get the reward from it. There are perks that you can pick up. So through the leveling system, you can actually make it to where you have more choices of what the reward, and you can get multiple rewards. So those are things you may want to look at if you're doing a lot of quests to be able to get a lot of really good gear. So that is tip of the week.
I was trying to find some video of our. We were doing some shared quests. I don't remember what day we did it on. There's too many hours. There's like 20 hours of video on Twitch, and I couldn't remember what day it was on. I think it was on the last day, but I don't remember. So yeah, the shared quest system is super cool. Good and really good XP. Brian, I will lead off your tip and say, do the shared quests with 4 or 5 people. We were running them like 10 deep. And
it's too many people at that point.
At a point, I was just getting the XP. I wasn't actually shooting anything, and that's fine. But
you're also shooting. If everybody is shooting, you're shooting each other.
So run it with 3 to 5 people, and you'll be good. Because there's a lot of zombies. But really, at the one point, like I think Brian, myself, your wife, Joe, and Barbie were all just kind of like sitting at the spawn area of the mission, letting you guys clear it and just get the XP because it was just too many people in the house at one time. So, it's not quite a great experience running the quest with 10 people. It's a little bit much.
Yep.
So there you go.
All right.
Bonus tip.
Is there anything else? Anything else we want to do before we go?
I mean, you got another 2 hours? We can talk about some.
We actually cover the news.
Yeah, we can actually cover some game news. No, I think we're good. We're going to be playing 7 days on Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be playing Red Dead probably tomorrow. So if you're a Red Dead person and you're playing on the PS4, get in Discord and get connected with us. I know Saul's got it. He'll be playing. I know our friend Firebomb has got it. You've got it. I've got it. I've got a couple friends that have got it, and some family that's got it. So we'll have a group of people playing it. Hopefully sometime tomorrow night. So just be active in Discord tomorrow night. Dinner time East Coast. A little bit later, we'll probably get a group going. It'll be a good time.
Very good. All right. So if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter,
what about the giveaway?
Check my blog. Oh, you want it? Well, I'll give it to him. There's one person who doesn't have the game.
Gotcha.
So I'll just give it to him. If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. And make sure you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. And if you're not a part of our Discord server, click the green button at the upper right-hand side. This is join our Discord server. It's a great place to communicate with us throughout the week. And also we have on there places you can submit news. We have our workout channel if you want to try to stay healthy with us, all kinds of cool stuff going on there. We have all our different audio forms on there and the Steam notifications if you want to be warned of when our show's getting ready to go live. So,
Warned?
Yeah.
This is like it's a bad thing. Our friend Firebomb just said he got a new Echo, Amazon Echo device, and asked, is the Infection podcast available? So when you were doing your tip of the week, I went over there and tried getting it to play. And if you say the A word, the name of your system,
Alexa, play Infection Podcast.
Thanks, Brian. Play Infection Podcast. I turned my speakers off. Play Infection Podcast. It will get the show and it'll play the latest episode. You can't do specific episodes and whatnot. Firebomb's the device started playing. You can't do specific episodes, but you can listen to the latest episode on your Amazon Echo device. So we're everywhere to serve you. That's our
Yes.
that's our motto here. We're here. We're on YouTube and Spotify now too. By the way, Spotify podcast, search Infection Podcast. We're there.
Very good.
Alrighty, Brian. Well, thank you so much for putting up the 7-day server. Brian was our trusty server host on that, and we were a little concerned going into it, like maybe the server's not going to be super reliable. Hopefully, it doesn't crash. Like, are we going to lose our data? And it was rock solid. So thank you for setting all that up, putting the time into that beforehand.
Yep, no problem.
Alrighty, folks. Well, thank you for joining us. As this is our last show in November. It'll be Christmas next Christmas. It'll be December next week. I'll put my Christmas lights up behind me, and we'll get ready to move into December, and then before you know it, it'll be 2019, and we'll be back on it. 4 years is coming up in January, late January, I think. So stay tuned for that. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. You can visit our website anytime. It's infectionpodcast.com. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Infection. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.